on the line, one shot. Who would you rather have taking it, Iggy or Curry?
Of everyone on Golden State, open shot, fate of the universe on the line, or the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth, you better hit it. I want Iguodala.
I saw in an interview with Patton Oswalt, he framed his coaching style and performance after Jeff Van Gundy. Do you think that's a good comp?
Pretty hilarious, I'm not gonna lie.
He's an orangutan, right? Is that?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I'm like 95% sure that's right. Yeah, he does look a little bit like Jeff Van Gundy or Stan Van Gundy, whichever one you'd said. They're basically the same person, but
he's got a Van Gundy-ish-ism to him.
For sure. But I think that's one of the cool things about this movie is it's just got a ton of homages, to basketball fans, basketball lovers, top to bottom. Obviously, Steph Curry being, one of the main roles. Like this IMDb page is actually ridiculous of just like all of the basketball people they did include just do like tiny voice roles of opposing team members and stuff. But yeah, that's a pretty good comp. Obviously, Steph Curry's the GOAT comp. I'm trying to think of other comps.
I do got to throw in the proboscis monkey is what he is. He's a proboscis monkey, not an orangutan. He's a monkey. He's a long-nosed monkey.
Yeah, he's got a big nose.
He's got a big nose, yeah, basically, and very tired eyes, of course.
Coaching this team.
Gabrielle Union, of course, playing literally a Black Panther, which we got a shout out in this movie. The hero. She's never won a championship, right? So she's not.
Okay.
That's her whole thing. She's the GOAT. She's the greatest.
Kevin Durant
never won
before he sold out. If he never left, yeah, I like that. Okay, yeah, because I mean, her career is very long. She does have like a LeBron type career where it's like the little kids that she inspired are now her teammates. Like that's got to be a pretty good full circle moment. And the fact that she lasted this long in this crazy of a league is really impressive. I mean, I think one of the standout things for me in this movie is just the design of the courts, partly because of how dangerous they are, which, makes the game more interesting. Although I do kind of just want clarification on the rules altogether, because it seems like there are referees or officials. I don't think I've ever seen them blow the whistle other than maybe to tip off and call timeout, but also like the players complain about the refs not calling fouls. So it seems like there
is clearly a system in place that there are fouls.
I'm confused by it, but you can't like call fouls on the court. So, but you can have it whatever dangers you want as well. Obviously in the animation style too, it definitely leans into that. But I had fun with this movie, even though it has, definitely questions with story beats of being very, very classic sports movie. We've definitely seen this movie before, but I think the unique visual style for sure takes it to a different level.
Yeah, I mean, it's following in the Sony animation canon of, your Spider-Verse and your
Puss in Boots.
Well, no, that was DreamWorks doing a imitation of Sony animation, but this is the real fucking deal. Now 5 removed. I think I agree. I had way more fun with this movie than I was expecting. Pretty low expectations, to be fair. But it really is, when it comes down to it, just a classic sports movie with your, tried and true tropes and a fun twist on basketball. I think the gameplay is enjoyable to watch. The stadiums, like you said, I think are the highs. There's the Riverfront Stadium, the Jungle Stadium, the Thorn Stadium, the Inferno Lava Stadium, a Shadow Stadium, and then the Ice Stadium, basically. So, and of course, our heroes play for the Vineland Thorns.
Which I think the Thorns is actually a pretty good team name as well for just making that up. I kind of bought into it. I like cheesy sports stuff where it's like a team environment. You have kind of the fandom backing them. I don't know. That's just something that I actually really like in sports movies. So they do a lot of the tropes well, I would say, even though it is tropey. And yeah, I mean, the characters are fun too. I want to shout out off the bat this Moto guy, played by Nick Kroll.
Nick Kroll. Yep.
Yeah. Great casting there as well. And shout out Gabrielle Union, I think is great casting too.
Do we need to talk about what Hollywood thinks of lizards? Like what's going on? Why is a lizard always got to be a freak? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you got whatever the fuck Paul Rudd's doing as the gecko. Like there is some sort of real discrimination in Hollywood where you got to have a little weirdo as a lizard character. And why can't they be the hero?
It's true. I mean, their intro is, of course, him losing his skin and being all gross. So yeah, I don't know.
He does save the day in the end. No spoilers, but he's very pivotal to the final resolution.
Yeah, no, he's good, but I think the rest of the team is fun too. I mean, you have the draft played by Steph, who like his story is he's been on 10 teams in 10 years. Like he's a real journeyman. So I thought that was a fun, just like random, like actually realistic NBA storyline that is kind of maybe relatable to some people, which is fun. And then the bird, I like her story too, of kind of being this top pick who was a little bit of a bust. I feel like I said, like they just included legitimate, interesting storylines, like from pro basketball, which I was not expecting at all. I was just expecting the plot that we got, but none of really, the deeper script and kind of the fun nods, which I think Steph Curry, probably him executive producing this, added a lot of that stuff. I will say I'm a bit of a Steph Curry savant. I think I've watched all three of the things that he's on Letterbox credited for, which is his A24 documentary, and then as well Netflix series about the 2024 Olympics, which he does a lot of interviews for. So three for three. Just wanted to shout that out. But it is also just like his life story of he is the GOAT, basically. He was told that he was too small to
A
play.
different style of play that nobody
Yeah.
expects. Yeah.
And he makes every shot.
It'll change the game.
And he literally did change the game, and he became the best shooter of all time. I don't think that's any debate. So he's a GOAT, at least in that category. I mean, he's definitely one of the top 10 players of all time, probably. So it's cool to just see like his story told as well in a different way. But yeah, shout out Steph. Come on the pod.
He did call in his old buddy Andre Iguodala to draw up some plays for the producers, help them out. This is how how basketball should be played. Death beam pointed at the earth. He called in the one man who could help him.
I'm calling Iggy Adala.
Yeah, nothing wrong with ESPN. That moment right there it's a perfect distillation of everything that went wrong with sports media.
True. It's all been downhill since then.
We haven't talked about, of course, the main enemy. Of course, this movie also has the kind of major league thing where the team owner is the real bad guy, or at least causing problems. But the antagonist on the court is, of course, the main attraction, played by our good buddy Aaron Pierre, who we're really loving. And I don't know who the comp. He's got a Dylan Brooks look. I've heard. But.
That's brutal. Brooks is not coming on the podcast anymore.
But it's not the I don't know the place. It's very rough. It's hard, but he obviously he wins game.
True, he's a winner. I mean, he's got several rings. I don't know who to compare him to. Yeah, because I mean, his play style is just so basic of run everybody over. Like that's really all he does.
He's also just doing pickup games randomly against whoever on.
That's kind of dope. That's good marketing at least. So shout out to him. But yeah, Aaron Pierre, I thought he was good in it. I do love him and kind of all the other stuff that he's in, and definitely Pump for Lanterns. Honestly, I couldn't even tell it was him for most of the movie, but he was still menacing. I mean, he got the job done, but it was a very
he's
basic.
Mufasa and he's main attraction, man. What animal will he be next?
I mean, I'd put him in any animal, honestly, and I'm down for it.
This movie, I would say, is pulling from a lot of sources, Major League being one of them.
Yeah, when I saw that they were doing the plot of the owner's the bad guy, I was like, oh, shout out Major League. So
shout out to Ted Lasso as well.
True. But love that reference. I mean, also too, they have like the classic last minute team breakup. Everybody, they have to go and recruit everybody for the final game. So just classic sports stuff there. But I thought the final few games, actually, I really love the Fire Stadium and the Ice Stadium. Also one where they're way up high as well. I feel like most of the games were actually pretty entertaining just because they did keep up and changing the location and everything. So yeah, I thought the climactic game was actually pretty good.
Yeah, and it's got the good drama of an injury and a player fighting back. And I questioned in my Letterbox review what the sub situation is. Like they were, of course, playing with only 5 players, and then they bring in the GOAT, and it's like these arenas are fucking death traps. And if you get hurt, I guess 2 guys get out, somebody gets ejected, you're donezo. 5 fouls.
I guess nobody gets hurt ever because I mean. They never sub animals. Really. And yeah, it's like 5 on 5 for every team. So they must be very tough, or the court is just not as tough as it looks, I guess. Maybe one of those two. But it is very confusing. I mean, with how physical the gameplay is, you'd think there'd be a lot more injuries. And we see injuries. The GOAT gets clocked a few times, I would say, to say the least. And obviously, yeah, the Panther injury at the end, which is really devastating, I would say. But yeah, I just don't know the rules, so I can't really understand the game without that.
Need a how-to course, little crash course before maybe. I bet this would make a really fun video game. I think give me the GOAT video game where we're playing fucking Roarball.
Probably a thing, honestly.
It would be disappointing, but you would hope it would be as good as it looks like it could be.
If the Wii still existed, that would be a bestseller, I think. But that's probably a thing. It has to with Steph behind it. There's got to be like a 2K style game. If not, I mean, we just became millionaires. So shout out.
Let's work on developing it. I do think the soundtrack is pretty fucking ass, and it is a movie that is like, I almost describe it as like TikTok cinema, where it's gotta play a song and jump to a new scene every 5 minutes to keep you interested. And I struggle with some of that stuff. And listen, there's some artists here, but like, I'll just read them off for you. Jelly Roll, Quinn 92, Russ, Natanya, Cordis, Bryant Barnes, Gregory Fletcher, Joey Valance, and I don't know. There's some names, but then even the ones I know, I'm worried about. It just doesn't sound good. It's kind of very cheap. Feels like stuff you get on like a 99-cent website to fill out your short film in college. You know, you're very generic sounding hip hop and R&B and pop hits. And even, the John Bellion song, I love this guy, but we don't need it on the GOAT album. This could have been more interesting, and I do think that was maybe the bottom of their budget. It's what they had left over.
Too many voice cameos, unfortunately, but yeah, I do agree. I mean, especially when Jelly Roll is the first name you mention, I feel like you have a problem in general. But I do like Quinn, whatever his name is, and John Bellion. So it definitely could have been worse. At least they had a couple decent ones. But I agree too. It's definitely, obviously it's aimed at a different generation than us, and just because of that, like it's going to be more fast paced, and like you said, more TikTok-y feel. I feel like is probably where, I mean, that I felt that way with the last Ninja Turtles animated movie too. Not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, definitely just not for us specifically, and sometimes it is definitely a little bit cringe.
Caleb McLaughlin coming off Stranger Things. Him and Sadie Sink, probably the two most likely to have a successful career. It'll be interesting to see.
Definitely Sadie Sink. Yeah, I don't know who is number two. I mean, Millie, I feel like has a star power, but I don't know if she's really
going to make the most money.
I mean, yeah, she can just keep doing crappy Netflix movies,
overall deal.
Is she ever going to be like a movie star? I don't know. I think Sadie Sink probably will be, honestly. And Finn Wolfhard, I don't think he really loves acting that much. So
I mean, him and Joe Keery both, they have their music, they have their other things. Finn Wolfhard, I think, wants to like direct films. I think he will probably continue to work in like a smaller indie space. No Shop, that kid's not doing anything. No Shop.
Not even mentioned. David Harbour is in this movie too.
So. True. It is a reunion for them. Patton Oswalt, of course, also.
Yes, Patton Oswalt. I thought he was actually pretty good in this as well. Just such a recognizable
You love
voice.
Him playing an animal in a movie. I'll just say.
I mean, it's the same with Aaron Pierre. I think any voice role I'm pretty much on board with. But yeah, obviously he's exceptional in Ratatouille and brings that same energy to this role. The coach behind the scenes that never got the opportunity to coach, and now he gets his shot. And yeah, I think the character design is fun too, because he just looks so stupid. It's hard to take him seriously at the beginning. Then he starts drawing up great plays. So just love Patton Oswalt altogether. Shout out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That hasn't come up for a long time, but yeah, I love that guy.
And of course, this movie also feels closely connected to a couple 2025 films, which is our main topic of discussion today. Dream Big, the literal tagline of Marty Supreme, is also basically the tagline of this film. It's the thing that our main character writes on his shoes. Obviously heavy Zootopia vibes. We had Zootopia 2 last year. And the film Him from last year, which everybody saw and everybody loved, was supposed to be called GOAT. But Steph Curry said, fuck you, Justin Chipping, call your movie Him. I've already got GOAT locked and loaded. And, Sony pushed Marlon Wayans aside and said, I think we got that one.
It deserved the title, right? I mean, it's the better film.
It is the better movie. And I think Him works as a title for that movie as well.
Yeah, that's not a bad title either as a backup. But yeah, exactly what you said, though, too. I think it's 100% a combination of Marty Supreme and Zootopia. I think that's exactly just what this movie is, to be completely honest. And it's really fun. I mean, again, that's kind of like Steph Curry's thing, like Dream Big. So Timmy, I mean, you're kind of stealing from the GOAT here, but that's probably why he's not going to win the Oscar. It's because he was stealing themes from the actual Goat movie, not some wussy ping pong, just like opera. Nobody likes it.
And then I would just encourage everyone to look into the things Stephen Curry is supporting and putting his money behind, and maybe realize that the propaganda is there.
Oh man,
Steph Curry in the pocket of the Israeli government. I don't know. Maybe.
Is he?
Watch out.
I mean, who isn't really?
Not my goat.
Brutal.
He loves. That's good, guys.
That's good. Defamation lawsuit.
Yeah, it'll be a 1 month bleep after.
You got to keep that. You got to keep it.
And now that we've talked about GOAT, let's talk about the GOATs of 2025. Of course, here we are in March of 2026, but we're still talking 2025 films. Hello, and welcome back to Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast, the show where two former roommates talk about the best movies of 2025. We're doing our awards show in conjunction with the Oscars coming up in just a few short days. So if the Academy can wait until the middle of March, so can we. There was literally still movies releasing. Like last week, I got to see Surat for the first time. It finally had its wide release in theaters last Friday. So this is just the state of movies and filmmaking. If you really want to be able to see everything that comes out in a year, you almost have to wait a couple months after the year's over. Oscars, I'm excited for them, and I'm excited to give some awards out today, Kody.
I'm very excited as well to give out a lot of awards. And like you said, I mean, I think it's a perfect time to go over this last year film. Definitely as well, it just gives me a little bit more time, who's not the crazy watcher that Korbin is. So shout out to him. But yeah, it gives me a little bit more time. I did actually check out all 10 of the Best Picture movies this year, which I don't think I had ever done that, to be completely honest. So love that. And obviously check out our series if you have not been watching that along already. But yeah, I'm pumped to be here. I think that we have a ton to talk about. There's a ton of great movies this year, honestly. It's one of my favorite of the 2020s, I think. So a lot to go into. I'm sure a lot we'll agree on, and also a lot that we'll disagree on, which will be fun. But yeah, ready to name some goats.
Let's just kick it off with our best film of the year. Let's start with the big one. We are going to be doing this similar to last year, where we kind of almost do a draft style. So we're each going to have 5 picks in all these categories, but it'll be a back and forth. So we'll end up with 10 unique nominees for everyone. So best feature film, Kody, why don't you kick us off? What was one of your 5 favorites of the year?
I think I got to start at the top with the draft format here. I think you got to take the best while you can. And there's definitely some great movies this year.
And there's no vote here. We're just creating a collective consciousness of greatness. But
this is our list. It's the KHAP.
Yeah.
The KHAP top 10 for each category. And I think starting off with a bang with movie should be fun. And my first pick, I'm going to take Sentimental Value. If you've listened to some of our episodes in the past, I have been dubbing this as my favorite movie of the year. So I will keep it in this number 1 spot. So much I love about this movie. Oh my goodness. Right off the bat, just the way that it looks. The opening scene, I think, is really awesome. Kind of just showing the structure of this house that, has become a character through this movie. Just all the different shots as well with the house, I think, is great. A really fun line that I love from it, with the love of filmmaking, talking about with Stellan, is it's all in the shadows, and you can see that with this house. I think they do a great job of that. But also at the same time, I mean, the performances here are insane. I'll talk about a few later on, but I mean, obviously Stellan, Renat, Ignis, the main 3 I think are all very, very phenomenal. Just the emotional kind of layering of each character is off the wall. I think Renat specifically is honestly, she's got my vote for best actress. I'll be disappointed if she doesn't win. I think her emotional ability when acting is something that I haven't really seen for a very long time. So the character that she's playing in this, she is just she has this deep sadness that kind of overrules every other emotion in her life. And you can just see it like flicker on in moments where, she's frustrated or she's having a bad day. So I think just the subtlety of her performance is unbelievable. But yeah, the movie as a whole too is just very creative in its storytelling. Obviously Stellan, I mean, kind of his emergence halfway through the movie. And then, kind of the ultimate climactic scene as well, of both of them kind of finally working together after this long journey apart, finally kind of reconciling their relationship at the same time, even though they both have been through so much in their childhood specifically. So a bit of a kind of emotional roller coaster, I would say, for me personally with a movie like this. Something I too just, I do find relatable of, my parents divorcing at a young age, and I do find, see parts of myself with Renat. So it is definitely a personal choice, I would say. And it is the only movie I gave 5 stars this year. Although there's another one that I'll pick next if you don't, that I think is maybe the best movie of the year, even though it's not my favorite. But yeah, I can't say enough about sentimental value.
Yeah, obviously we both have talked about it extensively. Now this is our third time here on the podcast. It is just a powerhouse movie of performances. Has a lot to say about the film industry. And in no surprise, I'm glad you shouted it out, but like the personal, family history of your own, like the way that these movies are able to connect and tap into like real shared experiences of people's own lives. That's like the power of cinema. For me, this was my 21st favorite movie of the year. So I'm glad you gave it a shout, but I do enjoy this movie. Roller coaster is a good word because it's got a lot of high highs and definitely some low, very emotional moments where you could be crying and you could be laughing over the course of this film.
Absolutely. And I think it does a great job of balancing that tonality, because if you kind of do that too much, it can be a bit jarring, I feel like. But just the realisticness of the performances, I think brings levity to that. Specifically the sister relationship, I think is one of the best duos of the year. Shout out Ignis. I can't say your name, but she's really, really good in this. And I think I think it should win at least a couple. It should win at least one, I'll say, acting award at the Academies. And then it got a lot more just love with the noms than I expected. So happy to see that other people enjoy this. But yeah, I mean, Stellan as well. Didn't talk too much about him. I'll talk about him later, a lot more. But everything with the meta side of his character, being this acclaimed director and everything, I thought was super interesting as well. Something that he can definitely, relate to, obviously being in the industry. But yeah, obviously that core relationship between him and Renat it's so layered. They definitely have deep love for each other, you can tell, but they really just can't communicate, which again is probably something a ton of people can kind of relate to with their own lives as well. So I think it's just a great portrayal of humanity, and kind of how we can be flawed and how everybody has, kind of stuff that's messed them up. But, at the end of the day, it is still kind of a positive ending. So yeah, just great. Shout out Joaquin Trier. This is the only movie I've seen of his. I know he has the other one with Renat, which is supposed to be really good, but definitely have to check that out after a couple of watches of Sentimental this year.
Yeah, I think the two things you got to go watch are definitely Worst Person in the World, and then she's really great in A Different Man with Sebastian Stan.
Oh, nice.
If you ever watch that one.
Yeah. That's been on my watch list. Yeah, as well. Yeah. Shout out.
My number one movie of the year is kind of the obvious, I think, consensus pick for most people, and it's Sinners. What to even say about this movie? There's so much incredible about it. From the writing and the direction of Ryan Coogler, the performance of Michael B. Jordan in a dual role, the discovery of Miles Caton doing just fucking electric, impossible work. You literally believe that this like magical time traveling music is happening because of his performance and his ability to play this guitar and sing. And on top of that, all the supporting cast, Wumi Masako, Delroy Lindo, Haley Steinfeld, even incredible top to bottom. The filmmaking, the cinematography, the IMAX film that this was shot on is just incredible images. And it's the perfect use of the way IMAX moments and scenes in movies can feel greater than the rest of it and can kind of open up the story. It uses that thematically in that big barn dance sequence where they're playing the music and you see the Chinese dancers with the dragon, and you see the people from the past in the future playing electric guitar, and there's this mash of time period. And of course, Ludwig Göransson composing all that music. It's been my favorite movie since I saw it earlier this year. I got to see it 2 times in theaters, IMAX 70 mil. It's an incredible, almost like transcendental experience to sit and you just got to lean forward and lock in. Some issues with like the third act action set piece. I think that's where this movie kind of leans into like being almost too Marvel-y, is when it's there's problems, but the themes, the story, the way that this is about the assimilation of the Black community and the way that their culture and music and religion and every thing has been taken from them by white people in America, and constantly from blues music to today and everything in between and everything before that. This is a movie about that, and it's using vampires and genre as a vehicle for these incredible ideas.
Yeah, I agree with everything there. I think the combination, like you said, of like deeper themes along with more blockbustery fantasy elements too is an electric combination. And yeah, this was definitely the movie I was talking about. Of it probably is the best movie of the year, even if it's not my favorite personally. I mean, it's just a masterclass, I think, all around from Ryan Coogler. And yeah, I think Michael B. Jordan too. I mean, dual roles, a lot of that this year. But on a rewatch, I feel like I really could tell a lot better, the different arcs for his characters, which maybe the first time around I struggled with. But I thought, yeah, both of kind of his relationships, because he's one man. I don't know if you guys realize this, but he has to deal with.
And he's quite a man, I will say that.
Yeah, yes, he has to deal with two love interests at the same time. So it's just impressive that he does this role so seamlessly. And yeah, I think he's got a good shot at some awards, but all the technicals as well, like you were saying. I mean, score is unbelievable. Just the music as a whole. Caton plays a big part of that, but every kind of musical sequence, I feel like it's just on a different level.
Jamie Lawson as well, with the incredible singing
Yeah.
that she provides.
She's awesome.
She's the love interest for Caton's character. And you've got Jack O'Connell as this menacing fucking Irish vampire doing his jig out there with these people.
Yeah, he's great. I honestly wish maybe we got a little bit more from his character, because his setup I thought was actually a really standout scene too. But yeah, I mean, once the vampires get on a roll, this movie really just turns into a lot of fun for a little bit, even though it is super intense. Obviously, kind of figuring out who's who, who's not. The garlic scene I think is actually really, really fun. But if you go into this movie blind too, like not knowing if it was a vampire story, I feel like that would make it even better. Just because like the first act doesn't really give too many indications of anything like that. Like you have the mysticism of, the big dance sequence, which is awesome. One of the best scenes of the year by far. But really like that inclusion of, just the lore of having to invite somebody in, maybe that's the best use in movie history, in my opinion. So yeah, this movie's awesome. Definitely up there for my picks as well.
You also, of course, have the dynamic of the Chinese people and the Black people and the Irish people, and the way all these different cultures are historically intermingling. And this is a story where, yes, Jack O'Connell is the villain and is the bad guy, but he's not necessarily like evil or the most nefarious of individual. He's not trying to kill these people. He's not the KKK. That's the thing. Like the KKK is the real worst thing that's in this movie, of course, the racist. However, what Jack O'Connell is trying to do is trying to bring them in, make them vampires, and basically all have them become the same, to assimilate them, to make this one homogenized place. And, me as an individual, I believe that like it's the differences between people that make the world a great place, and diversity and different backgrounds and different styles of music, those things all being able to come together, mix and intermingle, but still remain their own unique thing is culturally important. And what Jack O'Connell as a vampire is like, oh, give up all your culture, give up everything, just join us, we'll all be the same. And that's like the ultimate, like lie that America is trying to tell to people throughout the centuries of, hey, if you dress a certain way or live a certain way, talk a certain way, then everything's going to be okay with you. And
yeah, it's almost like he's the Borg of this era. Shout out Star Trek references. But yeah, I do think that, like I said, all of the bigger thematic stuff as well. I think that's where Coogler kind of shines in a sense. I don't know if he was able to do that a ton with, some of his Marvel projects. He does do that well, I think, in those movies, but on this one, he really does take it to a different level. So I think it's his best movie, or it's his favorite movie of mine, I would say as well. But yeah, altogether, just a few shots of it as well, I think, are iconic. Them looking at the sunrise, kind of the conclusion, with Jack O'Connell's character. I feel like certain shots are just burned in my mind from this movie as well. Definitely the dance scene.
Fucking Michael B. with the Tommy gun,
yeah,
right at the end, straight to the camera. So badass.
It's start to finish. Even them driving with Miles playing, the guitar. Just there's no bad scenes in this movie, really, I don't think. So it's up there for me. It's pretty immaculate.
Nothing but excited for the next thing Ryan Coogler does, even if that is an X-Files pilot or a Black Panther 3. Like, I'm excited for those. I'm excited for the next original thing he does. Like, the future of his career is almost more exciting than anything he's done, which is insane to think.
Yeah, which is crazy. Also, shout out, I took this movie in what, third round, fourth round of our
Shout out
fantasy
to your
draft.
fantasy filmography pick. You picked a good one.
Carried me to second place, but yeah, I think Coogler movies are going to be going a lot earlier, especially after the box office success of this movie, which it completely well deserved. Also broke the record for Oscar noms. So hopefully it gets a lot of wins. We'll see, but yeah, just a great movie altogether, I'd say.
All right, Kody, what's your second pick here?
I'm going to go away from the drama. It is a dramatic movie, but I'm going more horror here. I'm going to go Weapons as my second pick. We're going high. I think for me, this was one of the bigger surprises of the year. Like it's got a great premise. I think there's no doubt about that. You know, obviously just a whole classroom of kids runs away in this looking like Jason Terry, you know, doing the airplane arms, just out in the middle of the night all at the same time. And nobody knows where they went. Like that's undeniably, I think, a great premise. But also too, just like the story structure, I think it is unexpected for a horror movie like this. You know, showing the different POVs of the characters. I think Julia Garner is actually a really underrated lead in this. You know, pretty much, she's the main focus. You know, pretty much a half hour into the movie, and then we start, you know, kind of shooting around everywhere. But just her perspective too, I think, is super interesting to start of being the teacher of this classroom who did no wrong and she doesn't know what happened, but obviously she's going to get all the blame. So I think that's a really interesting person to have it kind of focused on. And Brolin's great as well. I mean, he's kind of being his classic hard ass, but I think them as a duo later in the movie is pretty awesome. But yeah, just kind of all the combinations combined in this movie of it being a horror thriller, but also like this mystery premise. And the deeper you get into it, there are just like more explosive payoffs. You know, the Wong scene is really shocking. You know, the first time Gladys shows up, but also too, I think the cinematography with the horror is done really well. There's a few dream sequences that get a little bit crazy, and Kreger gets to have a lot of fun. So you have those horror elements, but at the same time, like you have this really messed up just thriller of, you know, once you do get to the reveal, you know, it obviously makes a lot more sense of this one kid obviously is playing a big part, and I think his performance is great too. But yeah, just all of kind of the combinations of those together made this for sure my favorite horror movie of the year.
I really enjoyed Weapons. It's my number 8 of the year, and you know we're still in 4.5-star territory. All these, you know, in the top 8. There's a lot of great movies. So some people have bumped up against this movie, taking it too literally, almost as like this is a movie that's purely about school shootings and like children, you know, dying and a community reaction to that. And who do you blame and where do you put things on? And there's 100% those feelings in that. Partly because I don't think you can have a movie about like American schools and not feel those anxieties just literally inherently baked into the DNA of it. And obviously there's the giant, you know, floating gun that Josh Brolin's character sees in his dream that
it's a bit confusing.
Adds to those conspiracy theories. And I think those reads are fine, but I think it's not the only thing that this movie's about. And it's just, that's just one of the ideas that this movie is kind of throwing out there. Zach Kreger talked a lot about him writing this in response to his creative collaborator and good friend who died of an alcohol, fell down the stairs when he was like really drunk. You have someone die in your life, something happens, and there's just no explanation for it. There's no real good explanation for it. So he took that as a basis of, okay, what if something happened and there was no explanation? All these kids went missing, or seemingly no explanation. And obviously you can divulge there from history. But I think that's like a really interesting idea of where he's actually coming from. There's also the stuff built in with school shootings. And also it's just like the state of, you know, what are schools today and who do we assign to take care of our kids? I think there's a really interesting scene where it's like Julia Garner's character gets in trouble because she gives a kid a ride home, it's mentioned, but then later you see the kid literally just walking home and nobody even giving a shit about it. Like it's like the priorities of parents and school systems and the government and all these things, none of it's really built around protecting our kids or trying to make life better for school children. So this movie's commenting on that as a fact. It's commenting on, you know, witchcraft. That as well. So I don't know. I think it has a lot of ideas. And I think when you say this movie is about one singular thing or it's too focused on one idea, I can understand disliking this movie because it doesn't really live up to those things, but really it's kind of throwing a lot of interesting ideas out there about collective trauma and about coping. And sure, what the fuck do you do when your entire classroom of kids is dead all of a sudden because somebody came in and shot them? Yeah, that's a conversation to have, but there's a lot more here too.
I do agree. I think it does have a lot more commentary on more of just like kind of the school system and their, so-called protection of children. For sure that conversation comes up a ton between Wong and Julia Garner of I'm sorry for going along, dude.
Well, and the title, Kody, is weapons too.
Yeah.
Who is the weapon? Who is the weapon? These children are weapons. The children are being weaponized and used by the community, but literally anybody to get something for themselves. And in this case, Aunt Gladys is, the true one who's using them as weapons, but it's all a metaphor for, how we weaponize our children.
For sure. But I think too, just like the horror elements of that, of buying into the story of, this witch is taking over people and using them as weapons is pretty damn scary, especially when they are literally just like heat-seeking missiles who, will not stop at anything until she snaps a twig or something. So I think it is just very scary from that perspective. Also, just her control of his parents right off the bat, all of the soup stuff. Like, it's kind of funny without context, I feel like, this movie. But inside the movie, I feel like it just works so well, especially from a dramatic standpoint. And then at the end, too, just like I feel like there's a ton of comedic release at the end of what happens with Gladys, of the reversal of the weapons, and then just her getting torn to limbs.
I love the ending of this movie. It had me dying in the theater seeing them chase her through the fucking houses.
Like, it's a great dark comedy in certain aspects too, but like I said, it really does a great job of the horror elements kind of in the second act. It does a great job of the thriller mystery elements kind of in the first act. It kind of has something for everybody, I feel like. But yeah, with the gun violence, honestly, I don't read too much into it as it has a ton of commentary on it. Definitely the dream sequence with Brolin. I mean, obviously there's a big ass gun.
Well, the thing is, like, right before that, he's like staring at the poster of his son's wall, and he sees these video, like, maybe commentary on just the fact that we have guns in our culture, and like it's the first thing his brain goes to automatically, and he's having this awful nightmare about what happened to his kid.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just so much in the cultural zeitgeist, even surrounding, school shootings and stuff, that it's always going to be something that people, consider of what happened in a scenario like that. So I think it's more talking about that versus anything else of like, kids dying and nobody caring, and, sort of themes like that. But I want to say too, shout out some of just the small characters. The stoner, he's not a stoner. What does he do?
Austin Abrams. I mean, he's like a crack addict.
Yeah, he's a crack addict. The crackhead. I thought Israel was really fun as, just this rando actor, kind of no-namer, but actually
he's the lead of Resident Evil of Krager's next movie.
So they're boys. Okay. That makes sense, because I just thought that he kind of had a standout role, even though he's not in a ton. He definitely added a lot of comedic elements, with his relationship with Han Solo, obviously. So I thought he was great. And I think Julia Garner is crazy underrated. I don't know if she'll come up later, but like, let her.
She did come up in our best of the year, though. Our winners of 2025 with her dual performances. Yeah,
she definitely won.
Wolfman.
So. Of course, we don't talk about that one. Yeah, but yeah, weapons, had to include it here.
So I feel like the last couple of years, this always happens where my number one movie is kind of a consensus boring pick. It's like, yeah, Sinners is fucking great, but everybody says it. Dune Part 2, Oppenheimer, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, it is a little chalky, but I always feel like in the 2-3 spots is when we get to start become a little more personal. My number 2 of the year is The Voice of the Heimer Job. I believe was the Tunisian submission for best international feature, and it got into the Oscars under that, but it is a Palestinian film. It's about a real story, a real events that happened in Palestine just a few years ago. Of course, we can start this conversation off by saying, Free Palestine. We believe heavily in that here at KHAP. Yeah. And what this movie is doing is literally putting you in the room of a emergency response center, a call center, where people in Gaza, people on the West Bank call in, hey, I need an ambulance. This has happened. I've been attacked, whatever it may be. And they're coordinating, sending these ambulances out to help people because the Israeli government is not sending the ambulances in. They're not helping people. Oftentimes they're deterring people or even causing the injuries to these people. So it's an entirely this kind of like grassroots, nonprofit, community driven organization that's then goes to coordinate with the Red Cross, coordinate with literally the Israeli government to try and get these ambulances into places. And the story of this movie is about a girl who calls into this facility, and essentially all of her family is dead in a car with her. And they're trapped in just like the middle of this street, and she doesn't know what to do. And everybody in her family has been killed by these soldiers, by shooting that's happened. And the entire movie takes you basically in real time as the workers here at this emergency call response center are actively trying to just get her help, literally get an ambulance to go like 2 miles. They have it right there, but there is this insane set of like legal red tape that they have to jump through, where they have to contact the Red Cross, and then the Red Cross contacts the embassy, and the embassy contacts the government, and then the military, and then and it's a telephone game back and forth, literally just to be able to clear a path for this thing to get through. And what I really appreciated about this movie is it integrates the real life recordings, video, calls into this narrative fiction film. So at one point you'll be seeing the actors performing the call, and then it'll cut to just the real life voice recordings of these people. And the young girl who is trapped in this car that they're trying to save, is not played by an actor. Everything that is her in this movie is the real life recording. So it is an incredibly powerful movie, absolutely crushing when you get to the end of it. I can just say that things do not really end in a positive way, as many of these stories, turn out. It's a very heartbreaking story, especially when you realize so much of it is avoidable. It's also a story about people trying to come together to just problem solve. And in the face of, an impossible oppressionistic regime who is doing everything in their power to prevent a little girl from even being saved, these people stand up and they go to work every day to try and help somebody. It's a really powerful movie because of the real life events, but also just as a standalone piece of narrative fiction. I think it is like a thriller in its own way. It's an awful thriller, but I know a lot of people haven't had the chance to see it. It would probably, be in my underrated list as well, but it's just straight up one of my favorite movies of the year because of how well made it is and how emotionally affecting it was.
Love that shout out. I mean, I've not seen it, obviously off the bat, but definitely on my watch list. Like you said, just the fact that they're including kind of the real person in the story too, I feel like probably takes it to kind of a different level for them, just from a performance standpoint. So that's good. Really cool to see, and definitely an important story that more people should check out, including myself. Did you say it was nominated for Best International, or was it just the nominee?
Best International? Okay. In Tunisia is the one who submitted it because
nice. Where can we watch this as well, Korbin? Is it rentable?
I saw this movie in theaters a few months ago.
Yeah.
I think there are occasionally showtimes. I actually got a free screening from Letterboxd, just random email. Hey, do you want to go see this movie? And I got my name on the list. So that was cool. Be on the lookout if you're a Letterboxd user. Sometimes they'll send out free screenings. But it does look like it's rentable now for $7. I'm sure in a couple of days it'll probably go down in price as well. But
that's not bad either.
Hour and a half watch, really, tough one, but at least it's not too long and overly grueling. I don't think it like uses these awful things in like a way that takes advantage of them or is a manipulative, or it presents them as they are in the truth of the matter and what happened.
It's always tough, I feel like, for movies with that too, to not come out and hit you in the face with kind of
it's not sensationalist. That's what I was say.
It's more of just telling the story, like you said, and the shock and the terror involved with that. So definitely sounds like an intense one. Got to buckle up for it. So I don't know if I'm excited, but it sounds really good.
And I would say I don't think anybody in the theater was not crying when this movie ended. It's just that emotional of an experience. So, and just as relevant today as any other, for sure. What's your number 3, Kody?
This is where it gets tough for me. I mean, there's so many just in the great category. I think I'm going to go chalk. Since you took my Sinners chalk, I'll take the other chalk, Best Picture. possible winner and take one battle after another.
We got to have it in our 10. I think it's fair that both of us use a one slot for both. Yeah.
For sure. We both fall on our flag for one, but this is still a great movie. Obviously, PTA. I'm not his biggest fan, honestly. I do like most of his movies, but it's not like, oh my God, PTA. But I think the standouts for this is 100% like PTA behind the camera, the technicals. Like the cinematography is insane in this movie. Every scene is almost memorable, but obviously the car chase for me at the end with kind of the rolling hills. I just feel like I haven't seen anything like that specifically in a movie. So really cool to have that kind of being the climactic thing. And then off the bat too, I mean, yeah, just the electricity from Tiana Taylor in the very small time that we see her in. I'm so disappointed she was not in the movie. Every time I log this on Letterboxd, I'm just gonna say that because it's such bullshit that she's only in it for a half hour. She's unbelievably good. I'll talk about her later too. And then Chase Infinity, I mean, just takes over the movie. It's basically her starring role in a breakout performance. Where I think she is great. And then you got kind of Leo just being the catalyst. You know, the old wily vet, kind of helping both of them out and having really good chemistry with both. So it's kind of just a perfect combo of a really good cast. Obviously, a very seasoned director. And then, I mean, obviously, just with the relevancy of the themes today, you know, talking about Viva, Revolution and fighting against the fascist regime.
Fucking immigration labor camps.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, crazy relevant, obviously, with everything kind of going on in today's world, unfortunately. Sean Penn, I mean, you can definitely see a lot of characters in his performance, but he just grosses me out in this movie. I don't know, like it brings down points for me just because I hate him so much in this role, which obviously is just a really good and committed performance. And yeah, it's maybe a little bit overly long, maybe a little bit overly technical, but you can't deny its greatness, I don't think, overall.
Yeah, I love Leo as just the stoner dad, late career. He's playing so many of these type of characters that just like don't have their shit together at all, but still, things kind of work out for them. I love the scene where he's doing like the parent teacher conference and he's talking about the slave owners and that shit up on the wall. And he's just taking puffs of his vape, which
can't
is great.
Smoke it here. Yeah.
And then, the scene when he's accosting Chase Infinity's friends, him and Benicio. God, Benicio is incredible in this movie, just a breath of fresh air. And when, you're following him through the dojo in the back of his house, and he's just like this lost dog looking for a place to plug his phone in, and Benicio's, come on, we got to keep going. Let's go. Come on, Bob, let's go. There's just so many great scenes. And like Sean Penn, despicably evil, but like, that's the perfect villain. Like he is awful and gross and also just like looks like a fucking ICE agent and is just as, flimsy and disgusting as the real ones are. Super relevant, talking about race, talking about, the immigration camps, the need to, stand up. Incredible score, incredible cinematography. That road, like you said, I don't know if I've ever even seen somebody shoot a road that incredibly. Like I could just watch that for an hour straight, probably, with the score playing in the background. Christmas Adventurers, Kody.
See, I don't like that either. It's just like, but it's an important part of the story. Like it's definitely, it's important to have those themes, especially, with very early on talking about, the immigration camps and stuff like that. So it's a good thing to have, especially with antagonistic roles and you got to kill some people. So I'd love to see those people get killed personally. But yeah, I mean, it's just a masterclass start to finish, I think, from PTA. I noticed too, a scene you didn't really mention with Leo is him kind of screaming at the technician guy who's like the new age spy and won't give him the code. I like that scene a lot. I think PTA just likes to have like people scream at each other over the phone. He did something similar in Punch Drunk Love with Philip Seymour Hoffman, which is maybe one of the best scenes in the movie. So I think just you add in the little PTA kind of isms and kind of his personality is definitely shown throughout this movie. It might be one of his best looking movies. I mean, it's always a technical achievement, I feel like, when he makes something. But it's just like every shot almost in this movie it impresses me from some standard. So I really love One Battle, especially on rewatch. I think I liked it a little bit more. But yeah, give us more Tiana Taylor, man. I'm disappointed.
One, Kody, I don't know if you've heard about this, but they shot it on VistaVision. So,
well, that is improve big technology that's never been used before. But yeah, it looks great. So keep shooting on it.
Shout out to Rabisi. We love you. I'll go for one that I think is probably on your list, or maybe you were considering in the top 5 area. And I'm gonna take Wake Up Dead Man. Another movie that I think could fall into the underrated category, surprisingly, even though it is a sequel to a very popular franchise. But I feel like this one had the least impact and the least amount of people talking about it. Maybe it is just that this is what happens when a Netflix movie releases on Netflix and doesn't even play in AMC theaters. However, Rian Johnson, I think, bouncing back from a lesser Glass Onion to create a really effective mystery. It's got a fun ensemble cast. I think all the stuff, talking about religion is really interesting to me. Obviously, Rian Johnson and I both, former Catholics, so we got that in common. And we did a whole mini review on this episode, but it's just one of my favorites of the year, I think, for the fun I had watching it.
Great murder mystery. I think of the franchise, it is my favorite, which is an achievement of itself because there's no really bad movie in the franchise yet. And yeah, it definitely takes the character in an interesting direction of, putting it in a religious kind of setting. And he definitely has history, with religion as well, making that kind of his relationship specifically with Josh O'Connor, I think definitely a standout. Just their chemistry, and that's my favorite duo, I think, of the franchise too. So shout out to Josh O'Connor. I think he was one of the big winners of the year as well. And Josh Brolin too. He's gotten doubled down on our list, and he's definitely on our list last year with Dune Part 2, but he's great in this. I think this is maybe a better performance than Weapons, and I like him in Weapons. So, and like you said, top to bottom, it's always going to be a good cast with Ryan in a movie like this, other than Mila Kunis, unfortunately. But other than that one blemish, I think this is just a stellar murder mystery, which is what Rian Johnson makes really well.
We talked about a little bit when we did our mini review. There's some Donald Trump there, or at least a form of metaphor for a Donald Trump-like figure. And I think on two ends of the spectrum, you have like what Mickey 17 does in terms of parody and representation, and then like what Rian Johnson is doing by creating a character that is using tactics and methods and ideas that can make you think about our current president. Whereas, Mickey 17 is literally just, doing a carbon copy, adding, some veneers on.
Just Ruffalo doing whatever the hell he wants. But yeah, that's a great point, especially Brolin's use of fear to kind of keep these people in line. And obviously the use of religion along with that as well is definitely relevant, I would say. But yeah, I think his performance is pretty fun. He's just kind of going for it. And the cast bounces off him as well. I feel like all the supporting roles were done pretty much up to par what I would expect. And yeah, it was on my list. I think it was number 9, I believe. So it might have gotten picked, but definitely worthy of an inclusion.
All right, Kody, what you got next?
I'm kind of torn because I know what I'm going to take with my last pick. I'm going to take an action movie. Spoiler alert. So I have 2. There's like dramas that I really love, and I can't decide which one I want on. I'll just say the one I'm not going to pick to shout it out. Hamnet. We talked about it, I think like 3 or 4 episodes in a row.
I'd be upset if that was at our collective.
And you hate it. So yeah, we can't include it.
Because if we're doing laws of averages, I do just want to shout out Hamnet is my 79th film.
Okay, so off your list, we'll bump it. And I'll pick Sorry Baby instead, which again, it's a top 5 movie of the year for me. And we did a mini review on the past. Go check out my full thoughts, but just a phenomenal film. It has some similarities to Sentimental Value, funnily enough, specifically with its tone, I feel like, of obviously it's a very, dramatic story of dealing with extreme trauma, having to stay in kind of the same environment where that extreme trauma occurred, not really having any repercussions from, being assaulted and raped by your teacher. So just a lot to deal with emotionally. And Victor, her character, figuring out life, figuring out relationships, really just interesting stuff. And obviously the directorial debut from Eve Victor. I think she's phenomenal. I mean, it's crazy that she wrote, directed, stars in this, and she does kind of all of those seamlessly. I think the cinematography is superb. The professor's house, where it stays still on the house, and then the drive back up to her house, just really tense in moments, but also at the same time, like just Eve Victor, she is so funny and relatable, just in her personality, that even though she's going through this depressing stuff, Like she still has this kind of blind optimism, and she finds a cat, and that brings a lot of positivity to her life. So that's extra points for me as well. Yeah, just all around a great movie, I think, and definitely an underrated one. But for me, just like the fact that it's on the same technical level as the script and the performances, it bumps it up to for sure be in my top 5 for the year.
This movie makes me laugh so much, which is just like a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
But it's so funny, and Sentimental Value is a good comp in terms of tone. But I think this one's funnier than Sentimental Value, and maybe at points darker and more serious in like its direct commentary and the things that it shows and talks about. Eva Victor, it's an incredible debut from them. I'm very excited to see whatever they write and direct next. And Naomi Ackie as well, really fun supporting performance, great cat stuff, and the whole reason we did a Zodiac episode, one great scene from John Carroll Lynch at the end to make you a sandwich and make you feel great.
I forget about him. Yeah, that is a really uplifting scene, I feel like, and perfectly cast in that role. But yeah, that's a great point too, of like the funnies are more funny, and the dramatic is much more dramatic compared to Sentimental Value, but it still does a great job of juggling those tones. And I feel like that's such a fine line of, you could do that and it would feel wrong, or maybe just not the right way to tell a story like this. But the way with the script and with her performance, it just works. So yeah, shout out to John Carroll Lynch though. I mean, he's probably got what, 5 minutes of screen time, and I think he gets the end credit, so he deserves it if he didn't get it. Maybe he's got the whiff.
I think the rest of the movie he was off like killing people in San Francisco.
Oh, you think it's the same universe?
Yeah,
I could see it.
My next pick is going to be The Secret Agent. Another movie we've discussed in terms of our Best Picture miniseries that we've done, but just a story that I think of every movie I've seen this year, I have continued to think about the most, where I just continue to stew on what does it mean? What did that scene mean? The amount of research, the amount of reading, the fact that I've gone and wanted to watch other movies from Kleber Mendejo Filho, so many layers to this movie. And it's all just, held together by an incredible performance from Wagner Moira, looking so handsome, looking so suave, so cool. Just looking desperately to find this identification card for his mother, while all these, greater political turmoil happens around him and, is continuing to happen into the future. I think it's an interesting movie to think about now. And, in 20 years from now, how will, this time be looked back upon? Maybe people will be making movies similar to this. I'm curious to see it.
That's a great point, honestly. But yeah, this movie, it was definitely on my honorable mention. I think it cracked my top 15, actually. Really, just, it's something too that was unexpected, especially with the title going into it. Didn't know what to expect. But the opening scene kind of just really implants you in this, certain time in history. And yeah, Wagner, in the lead role, absolutely kills it. The movie's on his shoulders for sure. Loki, I don't know if I should say it, but maybe he'll win Best Actor. No Timmy shoutouts today, but I'd love to see him win, just because I think the depth to his role, and also kind of a really fun thing I like about this movie is its struggle between the characters who are in this kind of villa, obviously on the run from anything and everything, mostly the government. It's kind of their struggle to not be themselves as much, and not kind of share about their personal lives, because they know like it could be used against them. But they're all just really good people. And obviously the main lady, I think, is a standout performance. So definitely a great movie, and I'm definitely happy of its inclusion on our list here.
We all want Donna Sebastian as our landlord. One can dream.
I wish that would be electric, but yeah, she's awesome. I mean, honestly, I think that is my favorite performance in the movie, even though Wagner is so great. Yeah, put Donna Sebastian in every movie. She's my new Willem. Just cast her in everything.
The Leg is number one for me. I think it's doing a lot of really incredible stunt work, but she's definitely top 2.
Tough competition against The Leg, to be fair, especially when it's Harry. But yeah, great pick. Let's bring it home with my last one. Like I said, I mean, with me, you gotta sprinkle in some other stuff. You got your dramas.
I'm trying to think what this could be.
You got your horror.
It's not a Fantastic Four, is it?
Actually, it might come up later, shockingly. But no superhero movies this year were any good. So the best action movie of the year, I think by far, is Predator: Badlands. That's gonna be my.
You loved a Badland.
Mostly because it's basically just like a really good Star Trek movie. If we're being completely honest, love the kind
Second
of
Star Trek reference today. You gave a little Borg love.
We're getting a lot at the end of the year. Might be have to be the last one of the day, unfortunately. But yeah, also no Star Trek movie this year, which is sad. But this definitely filled that gap.
It's we've been saying that for a few years now. I do think they release the Michelle Yeoh straight to Paramount Plus Star Trek film earlier in 2025.
True, forgot about that. My mom watched it, and they also had a TV show with
what are we 9 years out from a feature in theaters?
There's a TV show with Paul Giamatti, I believe, in it, that my mom said was good too. So shout out to Star Trek.
It's been a decade since Beyond came out, Kody.
Well, wow, that's crazy, actually. Man, Idris is old. Doesn't feel like that was that long ago. Idris was old in that.
He doesn't look it though. How old do you think Idris Elba is?
Well, he's Black Superman. I guess 50. He's got to be up there, man.
53.
Okay, he's been around for a long time. I mean, he was in like The Wire and stuff. So, but he's awesome. Put him in everything too. But yeah, Predator. I mean, as far as Predator movies go, I mean, this is the cream of the crop, I think, especially from an action standpoint. The first one we did an episode on, it's iconic. It's 80 cheese. Got a lot of issues, obviously, just with it being very dated. This movie's nothing like that, and it's nothing really like the franchise. Obviously, it's from the center point of a Predator. The Predator's a good guy. Wow, that's really weird. But it's actually badass as hell because it's not like, oh, it's not the prime Predator. It's the little wimpy Predator who, his dad hates him and he's got deformities.
It's about toxic masculinity.
100%, yeah. And it's also, I mean, the relationship with his brother, even though we only see it for a couple scenes, I feel like is super strong and shows a lot about kind of just their society and who they are as kind of people, I guess if you want to call them that, as predators. But yeah, and then obviously he gets transported to the most dangerous planet in the world. I mean, where else do you want to send a predator other than this planet, where literally everything kills you? So yeah, and he has to kind of just figure out how to survive, which obviously he's pretty good at. And he picks up a really cute ass animal sidekick along the way. So, I mean, for kind of a Star Trek, Disney PG-13 robot slasher upper, I don't think you can get much better. So I wanted to include it on our list.
I'm trying to think of like the sentimental value Predator Badlands. Elle Fanning / My Father Didn't Love Me Enough double feature.
It's true. I mean, it's a good combination.
We could program it, right?
Yeah. I think you can make that edit. Shout out to Elle. I mean, she's definitely a winner of this year. No doubt about that. But yeah, it's such a different role, obviously, from sentimental value of, cheesy action where she's playing dual roles as, what are they called in the Alien universe? Synthetics. Yeah.
Great world building, bringing in that.
Yeah, it's an Alien movie too.
Yeah.
So it really, and it's a Disney movie. I mean, it's very much. I feel like it's a Mandalorian movie, kind of more than anything else. So, they definitely went for it. I'd say it was a risk, honestly, and I don't know if it paid off that well at the box office. I think it did decent, but I loved it, and I hope we get a sequel.
I liked when you found out that the big creature was the little creature's mom. That was beautiful.
That was beautiful. That hits you right in the heartbone, I think. But I feel
Jurassic World Rebirth, also another movie with a little guy. Who's better?
It's a toss-up, but yeah, Jesus, I forgot that movie came out in 2025. No ScarJo love, unfortunately, incoming. Mahershal's actually pretty good in that, but not used well.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense how he survives at the end. He's like, I'm sacrificing myself out in the water. And it's like, oh, he's just here at the end. I guess he made it out.
I don't think any of the main characters really die.
And he's going to be in the sequel too, so.
Are they doing a sequel? I mean, what's the point?
I mean, they will do another Jurassic World film. Right. I am sure of it. Or another Jurassic film. Maybe they'll go back to Park after this. Who knows? But that is really strange. Why are we now on Jurassic World is the franchise? Jurassic World Rebirth. This is like,
it's got the brand name.
It's the fucking sixth Jurassic movie we've had.
Nobody remembers the park anymore. Come on.
God.
They're worldwide.
Back in my day, kids, just a park would do it. Now you got to have a whole world.
Brutal.
I was trying to look up what the name of the little dinosaur was.
I think it was Bud was his given name, right?
Oh, in Predator it was Bud, right? But what's
Yeah.
the
Oh, what were you talking
what's the
about?
Jurassic World?
Oh, I don't know. What is he? He's a little triceratops. I think that's what he is, right?
Yeah.
They probably named him something. What would they name him? Horns?
What would you name a triceratops?
What is the shape of his head? It's like a pentagon, right?
Dolores is the name of the little
Yeah, that is
dinosaur.
Why though?
There is a Dolores Lego set. I don't know if there's a Bud Lego set.
Oh, surely. If there's a Dolores, there's
Make it
surely
happen.
a Bud.
Put a baby Yoda next to a Dolores next to a Bud, and you've got a fucking trifecta there.
Nah, I'll take Dolores out, but that'll sell for sure. The combo pack.
I like the Badlands pick because we get a franchise movie in. It's good to have, one of those in the 10. The Oscars always tries to go for something a little blockbustery, a little more general populace. So this is our F1, basically.
Yeah, this is 100%. This is our Top Gun Maverick for sure.
I do think my movie that I like the best that's like that is Superman. I did enjoy the Superman film of the, typical blockbuster franchise fare. I think that was my favorite, and still 14th best movie of the year.
Yeah, that's really high for you. Yeah, shout out.
And now my final pick. To wrap it up, I really did, stay in my top 6 here. The only one you bumped out was One Battle for me. And my number 6 movie of the year was Jay Kelly. This is similar to a couple years ago when I had White Noise, I think in like my top 5, top 10. There's just something about the Baumbach writing style that I think I really enjoy. I've only seen this movie once, and I do need to go back and give it a rewatch, but I just had a really fun time watching it in the theater. I think it is, a movie star movie, and George Clooney is like a fucking movie star, one of the few that, still exists and, has that old Hollywood legacy to him. It's kind of like Babylon, but if rather than just about movies in general, is about George Clooney in general. It's got a fun Sandler performance, a fun Laura Dern thing. It's about making movies. I honestly think the cinematography is kind of underrated. There's a lot of cool shots of in the theater, streams of light, fog. The opening scene of this movie is a really fun oneer that kind of takes you through a movie set. It's that kind of, maybe a little too self-aggrandizing, and yet I still appreciate it because I am a sucker for fucking movies and movie stars. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of right.
You like movies about movies, which I think is completely reasonable. But yeah, this is a great one. Again, I think it's in my top 20 pretty easily. Clooney is great. I feel like low-key maybe I would have liked it if Sandler was in the lead role. But it'd just be completely different. Obviously Clooney, has a lot to play off of just from his real life career and stuff. And I think the retrospective scene at the end really does get me. I think that's my favorite scene of the film. His relationship with his daughter is interesting as well. I think that train scene as well, kind of their conversation of after he chases her, across the world, really, impressively so. But yeah, I feel like it was just a realistic relationship for kind of somebody in his stature as well, trying to be a father as well as this film icon. So Clooney was great. Any Baumbach script I feel like I'm going to be on board for. And this is another good one, I think. Not my favorite of his. It's hard to be the favorites when his best is so good. But yeah, definitely solid for me. I think it was a 4-star for me as well. So not in my top 10, but I definitely back the inclusion.
I think it's got a really underrated score as well. Nicholas Bertel did the work on that. I think the biggest highlight of this movie is that we got Greta Gerwig acting again. We've got her playing in a movie. So if Baumbach's going to make movies just so that she can keep popping up in a fun supporting performance, I'll always take that. I love Frances Ha, and I think she's an underrated performer on screen.
Actress, yeah, she's a very underrated actress, I think. Yeah, love seeing her in it. Love her being paired up with Sandler for most of her scenes too. Would love to see that duo more. Yeah,
playing tennis,
playing tennis, just vibing. But yeah, put her in every movie as well. I love Greta.
Here's our 10 in no particular order: Sentimental Value, Sinners, Weapons, The Voice of the Heiner Job, One Battle After Another, Wake Up Dead Man, Sorry Baby, The Secret Agent, Jay Kelly, and Predator Badlands. Good 10, Kody.
Oh, what a list. I think it really does a good job of covering a lot of different genres as well. but definitely just encapsulates us, as people, I think, and also just 10 damn good movies, if I say so myself. So yeah, not too angry at any inclusion here.
Thanks for listening to the episode. You can follow the rest of our happenings over here at Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at KHAP Podcasts, KHAPODCAST. Please follow us on Spotify, give us a rating, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow along for more.
We're going to jump over to our best underrated films of 2025. So, movies that would be at the top of our list, but, maybe don't quite break in and obviously aren't talked about or seen enough by people. I'll get us started. And this is, for me, my number 7. So it fits well in the next category. It's The Testament of Anne Lee. It's a movie that had some early Oscar buzz. I think we were, considering it. Maybe Amanda Seyfried would get the nomination. Maybe it'd be there from technicals. Obviously, it's a similar filmmaking team to The Brutalist. Obviously, Brady Corbet and Mona Fastfold switching director position, but both co-writing it. And it is a movie that I just think is a surprising story. It's like on face value, this story about how a weird religious sect was formed in early colonial America. You're like, I don't know. But a really interesting examination of motherhood, of sex and religion, of, what the societal pressures of the time period were. I think it displays what religious passion can be in a positive light. I feel like there's so many movies and stories about the negatives of religion, but this is really a movie that actually presents faith in a positive way, in a way that can be life affirming, in a way that can bring people together, in a way that can, encourage diversity, in a way that can, lead to people helping one another, building community. And for all those reasons, I find this a really beautiful movie and kind of touching to present a form of religion that is often not experienced. And also, at the face of it, you have Amanda Seyfried playing this really interesting historical figure. Basically, you could argue she's like one of the original feminists in America and in pre-colonial America, happening at the turn of the revolution, and the way general society is, really fighting against that because of, this was a space for Black people to come into, a space for women to come into and be seen as equals. And the society, the new country, the people outside are generally opposed to those kinds of things, women and people of color having power in any sense. So when, a religion that is, purposely led by, these minority forces, it's understandable that there was greater pushback in the world in the late 1700s.
Shocking, but yeah, unfortunate. But I do like those themes a lot. Again, this is one that I haven't seen. I feel like probably most of you are underrated. I won't have too much to include in the conversation, likely. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, the standout thing, not knowing much about it, is that Amanda Seyfried kind of in this lead dramatic performance. I feel like, I mean, she's just not given that many opportunities and stuff like this. So I love that. And yeah, it does sound very interesting from a story perspective too. So definitely one off to check out.
Really incredible choreography. I think the music does bang. She should have been nominated for Best Actress. It is a real travesty that you've got Kate Hudson getting in, but maybe just a fumbling of Searchlight's parts, and awards campaigns sometimes don't pan out.
Kate Hudson's got to be the worst nominee, right? I haven't seen it actually, but she's got to be up there.
She's good in the movie, but
Kate's not coming on the podcast anymore either. We're just losing a lot of people in this episode. But yeah, one I'll check out. I'll kick off my first underrated flick with one that I know that you've seen, and one that was pretty early on in the year. I'm gonna take Black Bag as a movie that I think is very underrated. It's up there for my favorite from Soderbergh, which I think he's an awesome director. But I mean, first off, just the duo of Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender in this kind of spy thriller world is something unique, I think. And, having two actors of that caliber, kind of facing off, kind of playing chicken a little bit for most of the movie, I think is just awesome to see on screen, just because I do love both of those actors so much. But also it's a great spy thriller. Definitely that dinner scene as well. Yep. That might be my favorite scene of the year still. So fun, with the drugging aspect, but also so intense with they're looking for a rat in the room. basically to smoke them out and kill them. So it has kind of a lot of different elements that I think spy thrillers use. But every single one of them, I think, is just done very, very effectively. So Soderbergh, man, he's a great director. He made another movie this year that wasn't as good, but keep pumping him out. I mean, let this guy do whatever he wants at any point. Because yeah, I think as far as this genre goes, it's definitely up there for my favorite of the year.
A lot of fun costumes in this one. I think everybody's just absolutely fitted out, and it's just a super sleek movie. I don't want to go to any dinner parties like that, but it was fun.
It's probably fun in the moment, unless something else happens, but I'd probably go.
All right, my next underrated film is gonna be one that I don't even know if you've heard of, Kody. It's Resurrection from Bygone.
Okay, I think maybe you've talked about it before.
I think maybe I did mention it, and it's even a hard movie to begin to describe, and it is incredibly dense. It's like 3 hours long. A real ode to cinema movie, and a movie that is taking you through the history of cinema and telling its story as that kind of backdrop, and it's kind of these little vignettes set in different time periods. The basic premise of it is it's almost like a science fiction movie where it's in the future. People have given up their ability to dream, and that there are still people who try to dream, and that they're obviously doing something that's illegal, and there's a particular force of people that are going to hunt these people down, trying to find them. So there's a guy who in his dreaming traps himself inside of a movie, inside of like a camera, and then this person goes in after him into the movie, and then it kind of progresses through the history of cinema, like starting with silent film, and you kind of get to see different genres play out. It is kind of just this very art house flashy. The general audience would be like, oh, this is so fucking pretentious, and there are parts of it that I even think that. But when I'm sitting there watching it, like, I'm seeing images and things on screen done with film stocks and cameras, and like at certain points the image is like melting away in a really unique way that's almost dreamlike and avant-garde, that just like kind of absolutely blew me away. And then on top of that, something that is kind of a signature of Bygone is a lot of these long take oneers. He has a couple movies that are almost entirely them. The final scene of this movie, which I think is 15, 20 minutes long, is just like the incredible one take through the city where everything's red, and it's set on like New Year's Eve, so there's like fireworks going off and all these people going around, and the camera just flows through and follows this. It's just like incredible and jaw-dropping. And at one point the camera stops, and then like a time lapse happens, and then it picks up and it keeps going, and it's kind of just, how the fuck did they do this cinema? Like, it just blows you away when you watch it. And yes, it's long, and you can kind of feel the slog a little bit, but I think it's totally worthwhile experience.
Yeah, that plot synopsis alone is bonkers, but I kind of love it at the same time. So definitely really fun. You probably already said it too. Like, what's its origin? Is it a foreign language film?
It's a Chinese film.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that sounds really, really cool, honestly. So maybe you not mentioned that before, because I feel like I would have remembered the plot details. But yeah, like you said, just a love letter to cinema, which you always love to see. But like actually taking you through different kind of eras and diving into that world, super interesting. So I love that.
All right, Kody, what's your next one?
My next one, going back to horror a little bit, another one that I did talk passionately about in the past. If I want to take a sequel, The Black Phone 2. I think is the most underrated horror movie of the year. But also at the same time, it's the most fun horror movie of the year, I think, by far. Maybe Weapons, has an argument for that. But it's kind of just like one scene that's super fun with Gladys getting ripped apart. This one, it builds off the first one very well, I think, of taking, two established characters who we do like from the first one, even though Mason Thames has grown up and probably a lot of people hate him. I'm not sure, but I think that sibling duo is effective, and then just taking it kind of in a bonkers direction of having Ethan Hawke return in sort of this Nightmare on Elm Street type thing where he attacks
Dream Warriors.
Yeah, he just attacks you in your dreams, but also, I mean, they're at like this religious like summer camp or winter camp.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's got like Friday the 13th vibes as well.
Got some
It's
ice skating stuff going on. Yeah,
sick.
Frozen
Yeah.
Lake.
Awesome frozen lake scene. One of my favorite films. Excuse me, one of my favorite scenes of the film. Yeah, Ethan Hawke's great. I think he's great in everything, but he really just gets to have so much fun. Playing just pure evil, which I feel like he doesn't get a ton of opportunities to do. So yeah, all around, like I said, I mean, the cinematography too, I think is actually really fun. Kind of especially once they go into this dream world. It's kind of got like the same vibes that what's that fucking Nick Cage movie from last year? Fuck, that you don't
Long
like.
Legs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got like the
it
same
uses
cinematography vibes
a
as Long Legs.
16 millimeter film stock aesthetic.
Yeah, which I think is really
Yeah.
fun. So, and that was effective, especially with like the time period and stuff it was going for. A little bit weird stuff with the script. The opening scene itself is kind of just weird with the involvement of the script, kind of with their mom and everything. But all around, yeah, I think just really fun and for sure, I think one of the more underrated horror movies of the year.
And that phone was ringing, man. I'll tell you
Oh,
what.
nonstop. For a phone connected to nowhere in the middle of a lake, it sure gets a lot of calls.
All right, my next underrated submission is going to be My Father's Shadow, which is a movie I caught at the Chicago Film Festival. And when I went into it, I really had no expectations, really knew nothing about it. It was just one of the ones I got to see because I was volunteering and I was working in the theater and got to sit in on the screening. But I was really, really impressed by it. This was actually the United Kingdom's submission for the Academy Awards. It did not make the 5. It did not get a nomination, but it's set during the 1993 Nigerian election. So it's backed by this political event that's happening in the story, and it's a movie that is written by real life brothers, essentially them kind of looking back on their childhood, looking to their father at the time, creating kind of narrative fiction, but also based in historical fact about their childhood and the things they remember. And the film follows them going on a journey with their father to the capital city as this election's happening, as maybe a rigged election is happening, a false election is occurring, and it's really just like a story about these kids in their father's shadow, what they remember of him, the moments they have with him. And to me, what it is, when you complete it, is a really good argument for why having children, raising the next generation in the face of a political regime, ultimate oppression, all this turmoil happening, like it's still important that you can teach your kids to be good adults, that you can raise your children in an awful society. So it's like, even though the government is in turmoil and society feels like it's falling apart, there's still hope for the future. And in that hope, you have our children. And it's an argument for, yes, you can still bring life into a world that feels awful, which I found really touching. And, again, as we look around outside, it's like, we're growing up, we're getting older, we're thinking about these things, but fuck, I don't know if I want to have a child in this country in this moment. And yet, if you look back through history, people trotted on, they had families, they created life, they tried to forge a better path for themselves and the next generation. So I think it's a cool story about that, set in a historical context, taking you to a real time and place, and it's very specific in that way as well.
Now, that one sounds actually pretty interesting as well. A lot of very relevant themes, like you were saying, but yeah, definitely one to add to the watch list, I feel like.
And it's kind of just a hangout movie. It's him and these kids spending the day in the city. He's going, trying to get his paycheck back, so but also have these important moments, and then you see why he's the memory for them. He doesn't get to continue on.
Good pick. I think on my next one, I have 2 lined up already. Yeah, I'll go with Companion for my next pick. Another very early release in the year, and I feel like another one, kind of tailor made for me. It's kind of it's got comedic elements, but obviously just more of the sci-fi aspect. With those Sophie Thatcher in the lead, which her name is actually kind of hard to say, but she's awesome. Obviously, we talked about her in the past as well with Heretic, which she's definitely a standout. And this she kind of just continues on what she always does, and just absolutely kills this role. with her too, it's not the easiest role. Obviously, it's kind of coming to the realization of who she is and kind of how she fits into the equation of kind of society in this, you know, futuristic, not too far away future, pretty realistic future. But I think the cast as a whole is pretty good. Jack Quaid, I actually do have some beef with his dad, Dennis. What a guy.
Who doesn't?
But Jack, he seems all right, and I think
The
he's
Rookie?
selling this. Yeah, true. Great movie. But want to shout out Lucas Gage as well, who's just one of the side actors. I think he's really good. He was in the Smile 2, I believe. Yeah, he's the guy at the beginning who has a smile.
White Lotus
curse.
season 2, I think.
Oh, nice. I've seen season 1. So I'm almost there. But yeah, I think he's underrated. It's just got like a low-key, very good cast, and this guy's basically like a first-time director as well. I think he did something else very small. His name's Drew Hancock. So kind of just like no expectations for a movie like this going in. And obviously, I think it was a February or late January release, so even lower. So the fact that this was actually solid, I feel like is shocking just for when it came out. And yeah, it has like a lot of fun twists and turns, very unpredictable, very violent at times. And I think it has a pretty satisfying conclusion too. So visually, just with kind of the AI and the robots, whatever they're called, I thought that was done very well, especially in today's age. And yeah, definitely one of the more underrated sci-fi movies, I feel like.
I'm gonna bring up Puss in Boots: Last Wish again. Shout out to Perito, Harvey Guillen, as the other friend, and you know,
Oh, right.
the one that dates Lucas Gage.
Gotcha. Part of that too. Okay. I didn't know. Who is he in Puss in Boots?
He's the little dog, like the weird creepy
Okay.
dog, Perito.
That's, yeah. No, that is right. Shut up, Burrito. I need to rewatch Puss in Boots, but Burrito's a good role, to be fair. Memorable.
This is a fun sci-fi movie. I think some of the twists, you know, don't work as well as some of the others, or maybe it tries to, you know, get too intertangled on itself. More gory and shocking than I think I expected as well, and I do appreciate that stuff about it. It's kind of a horror movie. It skirts the
Yeah,
line well. Yeah.
for sure. His genre blends a lot, I feel like.
All right, my next pick is gonna be It Was Just an Accident, which of course was the Cannes Palme d'Or winner this year, so maybe it's hard to say it's underrated, but noticeably was left out of the best picture lineup and only got into the best international. This is a really interesting movie. It's one that really makes you consider what you would do if you were in the character's shoes, and it's a real moral dilemma movie. You see these people dig themselves deeper and deeper into a hole. I guess, are you familiar with the plot synopsis of it, Cody?
A little bit, yeah.
For those listening, essentially it's a movie about a guy who's at his job late at night. Somebody comes in trying to get help, you know, get his car fixed, and he hears this distinct walk of the person because they have a fake leg, and he swears that he recognizes that walk as his former torturer, as a person who beat him and imprisoned him and did awful things in it. And of course, he was blindfolded the entire time he was in prison, so he never saw any of these people. He only ever heard their voices and heard the way they walked. And this guy specifically sounds very distinctive. So he hears this, then he goes to some people and he decides to kidnap this guy. Hijinks ensue from there. It's almost similar to Anora last year, where it becomes a little bit of like a slapstick Three Stooges comedy in the middle part of it, where it's like this guy and 4 other people are driving around Tehran, you know, causing havoc, trying to, you know, figure out what they're going to do with this guy who's tied up in the back of their car. And, you know, it's the question of, you don't know for sure. But if you did know for sure, you know, you'd want to fucking kill this person and bury them in the desert because they did awful things to you. But at the same time, maybe they have a family. Maybe they have, you know, a greater life. Maybe they've become a better person. Who knows? You know, things have changed. So it offers up a lot of interesting moral dilemmas. And like I said, it's also a pretty funny movie at a lot of points. There's a good running bit about how like everyone wants to get a tip. There's like this tipping culture is out of control. All these officers want bribes. They want tips. And then on top of that, you know, there's the greater outside the movie filmmaking aspects of it, where the director Jafar Panahi was banned from making movies in Iran for many years, and his ban was finally lifted, and he made this film. He got another ban. He's, supposed to go back to prison once he returns to the country. Of course, currently the U.S. is fucking bombing there, so who knows, if he's going to be headed back. But it is this struggle of like the oppressive regime government not wanting filmmakers and artists in the Iranian New Wave to create something independently, and he's a guy who's continued to make films despite it. That the ending of this movie is really incredible. It is a final scene that leaves a lot of questions, and when I got out of the theater, I was just like, what does that mean? What happens? What do you think after the movie cuts to black? What's next? And I love a movie like that because you're continuing, one, to put yourself in the shoes of it, but then also what's the next step here?
Yeah, I love movies that do that too, kind of leave it open to your interpretation a little bit. So I do love that. And yeah, like you said, I mean, hard to say it's underrated with the awards accolades, but I mean, it almost was a no-show at the Oscars, I feel like, which was pretty
missed
surprising.
out in picture. Yeah.
Which I think when we did our Oscar predictions too, all of us had it kind of all over the board. Definitely a few in picture. So sad to see it didn't get kind of maybe the recognition on that side of things. But yeah, just from the premise alone, like you were saying, I mean, sounds very intense. I didn't realize it was had as much comedic elements, which is fun. But yeah, definitely one that's at the top of my watch list as well.
All right, Kody, what do you got next?
My next pick, which I really love, this could have been my first pick, honestly. It's The Legend of Ochi, which I feel like just nobody,
I did not see.
Nobody saw. Yeah, nobody talks about it, and I'm really disappointed by it. My description of it is, it's basically just like E.T., but we're on a random island in the middle of nowhere, and Willem Dafoe is, he's at war with the ETs. It's a planet of ETs. It's an awesome relationship between the main kid, played by Helena Zengel, who plays Yuri, and these creatures. They're sort of like monkey-looking guys, but they have like sharp fangs and stuff. So they come off as, a little bit confrontational, a little bit dangerous, you would think. But then you just see it's the classic story of the kid and kind of the baby who's lost from home, and they have this great relationship, and it's just this cool adventure movie of her trying to get this monkey back too. I guess it's not a monkey. I don't know what to call it.
Would you call it an Ochi?
I would call it an Ochi. And the cinematography is unbelievable. Just even like the opening shot of the island, I really, really love. Reminds me of like stuff from The Last Jedi, just, visually very striking like that. But also too, like Willem leading the chargers of kids, on these hunts through the night, like all the stuff with kind of fire inclusion at night is shot really well. But Willem, he's really egging it up. Like he's going full camp. He's having a ton of fun. Obviously, I'm just like this overprotective father. So it's a really great performance from him. And it's just really heartfelt. And it's an underrated A24 movie. So people should check it out, man. Give it a shot. I think you'll go away with a warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart, which I feel like with a movie like this, that's exactly what you're looking for.
Better or worse than Okja?
I haven't seen Okja, so I'm gonna say better.
Okja vibes. Girl and weird creature.
You could name like 50 movies, I feel like, that are.
Where does the little Ochi guy fit on the Dolores Bud Baby Yoda totem?
He's up there. I mean, he screams a lot more effectively than I think everybody else. So I'd put him, maybe not above Bud. He's pretty elite, but he's up there for sure.
There's a little guy named Stitch too from the film Lilo and Stitch. He's kind of put him in too.
How has that movie not come up yet? Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cinematography. It's in the next category.
Yeah.
My final pick for underrated here is going to be the film Die My Love, directed by Lynn Ramsey, starring Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson, as well as, you get a little bit of Lakeith Stanfield, a little bit of Nick Nolte. But it really is the J-Law show. And then Rob Pattinson just kind of, there to support and, do his thing and smile a little bit and play the shitty husband. In this movie, he just brings home a dog without consulting her or without doing anything. And it's like, that's the ultimate fucking dick move of a partner, to just bring home this animal that now you have to take care of. And that one moment I think is like the perfect encapsulation. If you brought home a little Jimmy, like you're holding up there, Kody, I think that would be okay. But you bring something home, you got to take out, you got to walk. That's real problems, I think. And that's just like the perfect encapsulation of what their relationship is. And then from there, it divulges into a really interesting movie about, postpartum and having children and the ways that fucking life just makes you insane, but particularly, being a woman and having a child, and how that your world kind of just begins to disintegrate around you, especially when you have seemingly no support from your husband or from your family or anything. Jennifer Lawrence is really incredible in this, doing a lot of just kind of like animalistic, basic emotion type stuff, very actorly. Let's go outside and run on all fours through the grass and get crazy. But at the end of it, I think the final product is a pretty intense, fun movie. I know a lot of people didn't really like it, but I don't know. I think it represents the emotions in a really interesting way. The use of colors in particular, I was really blown away with. A lot of cool blues and yellows and fun just production design.
Nice. Yeah. There's one that I want to check out. I feel like it should be on streaming somewhere by now. So I may have
it's a Mubi film. You gotta get yourself a Mubi subscription, which, hey, so is My Father's Shadow. So give yourself a little 2-for-1, Cody.
Wow. Love that. But I mean, the cast is obviously elite. Love J-Law. Love kind of just her career trajectory as well right now, where she's at, of kind of just doing whatever the hell she wants and not having to do the big franchises, kind of like she was stuck in for so long. It sounds like a fun performance for Rob Pat. I feel like that's a relationship ender almost, if you bring home a dog without consultation. Obviously it needs context, but yeah, it's
that's all the context.
Not great, but yeah, I feel like for just them alone, it's an easy ticket buy for me. So I'm sold.
One thing that I push up with Hamnet in particular is that I think this is a year where we have a lot of interesting movies about motherhood, about the struggle of losing children, about the struggle of raising children, stuff like The Testament of Lan Lee, Die My Love, even If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Like all these movies about the sacrifices that women have to make to be mothers and to raise families. To me, Hamnet is like the worst version of all of those.
We're not even talking about Hamlet. You still got to.
I'm just saying, in context of Die My Love, I think to me is more effective.
That's fair.
But here I am, just a man. So
it didn't have that song, so not as good.
True, but it did get shortlisted at the Academy Awards for Best Cinematography.
Okay, no nom though. But yeah, I mean that's a good point with Hamlet too. It's not the strongest commentary on kind of that part of motherhood and stuff. So definitely fair. Okay, I believe it's my last pick, which I was originally gonna take The Naked Gun, but thinking about it more, I feel like people like that movie. You don't, but I feel like other than you, it's similar with Hamnet. Everybody likes it.
Overrated, I'd say.
Never. Shout out the Snowman. But I think instead I'm gonna pick Smashing Machine, which I think I was not wanting to pick originally because I honestly don't know which Safdie is good and which one's bad and which one made this. I'm pretty sure it's the bad one. The bad one made this, I'm pretty sure.
Well, the one you don't like made this, but maybe the one Bowser Jr. made
right. It. No, Bowser Jr. didn't make it, did he?
Yeah, it's Benny, the Smashing Machine. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. So this is the good Safdie.
Well,
they're not both there. Neither of them are not good, but he's the better. Okay. Well, heck. Well,
someone will build a bigger bomb.
True. Well, I don't feel bad about picking it now because I think this is actually a pretty solid sports movie. I mean, obviously its shtick is, The Rock's the lead and he's doing a dramatic movie, but I think he is actually pretty good. It obviously takes you to the very early days of Ultimate Fighting Championships and kind of the sacrifices that a lot of people involved, had to make physically, just because it was a much different kind of time and a different sport back in the day of, you're probably not going to have a very long career, if we're being completely honest, but just kind of his relationship with the other main guy who was, I believe he's a modern day UFC fighter. I thought that was solid. And then Emily Blunt too. I mean, definitely playing a little bit of the, the crazier character. But again, I feel like that's not really something that we see a ton from her, coming off a obviously really great dramatic performance in Oppenheimer, going on a dramatic performance still, but a very different one, compared to that performance. And I thought she was really good. That ending scene specifically too, of obviously her kind of breaking down and losing it altogether. But I thought maybe she should have been nommed for an Oscar. And I think the cinematography is great. I think the soundtrack is great. All the technicals, obviously, it being a Safdie flick, you would expect it to be pretty solid. And yeah, all around, I think it's just a good sports movie. I think it's pretty much on par for me, like with Marty Supreme of, good script, good acting, good director, just like good all around. And I feel like it got a lot of hate, and I don't really know why. So I think it's definitely in my underrated for the year. I think it snuck into my top 15 pretty easily.
Definitely underrated because nobody saw it and cared about it. I do think it's shot in a very interesting way, kind of trying to mimic this real documentary that it's based on.
Yeah.
And something I said in our mini review, but getting The Rock to be bald and then still not look like The Rock while you've seen him with hair for this whole, it's kind of an effective work of prosthetics, I think.
Yeah. It got nommed for best makeup, I believe. So it could win.
Emily Blunt's got a lot of hair.
It's true. Well, she's got a lot of makeup too, but not the same as these on The Rock. But I think it actually has a good shot to win that category. So I'd love to see that.
Our 10 for best underrated film are The Testament of Anne Lee, Black Bag, Resurrection, The Black Phone 2, My Father's Shadow, Companion, It Was Just an Accident, The Legend of Ochi, Die My Love, and The Smashing Machine.
Boom. I think it's a great list. I'm guessing a lot of people haven't seen maybe even the majority of this. So I think that's our maybe biggest rec. And same for me, because I obviously haven't seen a few of yours. So go check out at least one of our underrated, and you'll probably like it.
All right, let's jump on over to best cinematography. I think we're definitely going to start to see some overlap here a lot with some of these movies.
I mean, yeah, I think the 1-1 for me here, again, there's definitely some obvious picks that we'll go through, but it's got to be Train Dreams, movie we haven't talked about yet today. But I think for me, I would give the Oscar to Train Dreams for sure. In cinematography, it really does just transport you, into the forest in a sense, but also into this time era. It is a really interesting just look at a man's life. Just this typical kind of logger guy, during this time period, and kind of just his story of survival and finding love and losing love. So it's got a lot of great themes, but along with that, like the cinematography is the biggest thing I feel like that you can take away from this movie. No doubt about it. It uses dream sequences very interestingly. You do have beautiful wide shots of the forest, a lot more close-ups, emotional close-ups when, stuff starts burning down. A lot of those fire scenes at night too, I think is one of the standouts. It's just a damn beautiful movie. It is hard to describe, to be honest. It's one that I feel like you just have to see it to know what I'm talking about, even watch the trailer. And it's just something that it really is unique. It feels like, obviously this is a weird comparison, but it feels like, the Spider-Verse movies to me, where it's like, I've seen movies before, but for some reason I haven't seen too many movies that look like this, and it just feels different. So I think, yeah, it's an easy 1-1.
The shots of nature are beautiful, but it's what you're talking about where it's doing something unique and different in its cinematography. No other movie this year looks like this or shot like this because of the shutter speeds and the way that this is kind of trying to emulate these old timey photographs. When I was editing our, best picture series episode on Train Dreams, I found all these like clip packages on YouTube that are like visuals of, and the Train Dreams one, when you just like lay them all out and watch it, like it is kind of just incredible shot after incredible shot over and over, breathtaking imagery, of course, in the 3:2 aspect ratio. It just looks so distinct and different. So I think this is a good first overall pick. I'll go a little more chalk here and just take centers. It's using those IMAX cameras in a little bit different way than we've really seen, especially in the juke joint sequence when the screen literally opens up as he begins playing this music, and fully the full breadth of the 70 mil 4:3 aspect ratio you're able to take in. All those iconic shots that we talked about of him, shooting the gun, him playing in the back of the car, anamorphic lenses, beautiful natural lighting, shooting the south to look incredibly. I love the barn. I love the cars, the camera, a lot of pretty impressive handheld moments. And, again, with IMAX cameras, like constantly innovations are happening when you're shooting movies like this.
Even the fact that it's seamlessly, having two Michael B. Jordans next to each other the entire movie, and they're passing
to shoot all these
cigars
scenes fucking twice.
yeah, back to each other and stuff. And like you said, I mean, just the memorability, I feel like for sure, is a standout for the cinematography in this. Like you're saying, I mean, just like the sunset shots, the sun, they are just done so well. And yeah, every shot is really a painting. I feel like in this movie, even like the vampire stuff of, when he's floating, it doesn't even like it's some visual effects, but it still feels in its realm, even when it goes kind of, more fantasy. Just great altogether. It was definitely my second pick.
The opening of the movie when it's Jack O'Connell's character jumping into the frame from above, feet on fire, such a great shot. And then I love the tracking when you go from the one store to the other store across the street and you follow them. Like that's such a beautiful setup shot. So it's like so many great choreographed sequences. Autumn Durald Archipel is the cinematographer of this movie. I think she was like one of the first women to be nominated and definitely has a chance to be the first woman to ever win in the category. And I think she probably will.
Probably a front runner and deservedly so. So love that. I think my next pick, I won't go chalk. I'll go with Begonia for my next pick. One that was a recent rewatch for me, and one for me that is a movie as a whole. Definitely not my favorite of Yorgos, but at the same time, it's Yorgos, man. Like he's gonna make cinema regardless if it kind of connects with me, to the level that all his other movies do. But it's just a damn beautiful movie. The bees right off the bat. I think all the close up shots of nature are obviously really well done. And then I mean, the more you go into this movie, the better it looks. I feel like of Emma Stone's house, their office, just like all of the shot composition and a lot of the close-ups too of Emma Stone, once she gets kidnapped and stuff, I think is very interesting. But yeah, man, on a technical level, I feel like Yorgos is just on a different level. And yeah, from a cinematography standpoint, I think this movie, it's almost better than a lot of his other movies as well, even on a technical standpoint. So yeah, definitely one of my favorites of his just from the visuals alone.
Another VistaVision movie that we can shout out. This was shot by Robbie Ryan, who has shot his last two films, Kinds of Kindness and Poor Things. Also has, worked on some smaller movies like The Meyerowitz Stories and
Nice.
Come On a couple years ago. He actually shot the 2011 Wuthering Heights as well, which is a fun fact.
Shout out. But yeah, I feel like compared to Poor Things too, like I feel like it just looks so much better than Poor Things. Maybe it is because of there's more
the colors are so rich in this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like earthy dark tones, browns and greens, and it just looks beautiful. Yeah.
Shout out Yorgos. It's my guy.
And we joke about the VistaVision thing, but this movie was shot on VistaVision. They, I think, did like one scene in Poor Things with it, and they were like, "Yeah, that's kind of fun. Let's shoot a whole movie this way." And it is different than One Battle and different from The Brutalist, the two recent movies that are using VistaVision for these kind of like big, expansive, wide shots. You're outside. This is a very intimate indoor movie. Yes, there's the bee stuff. Yes, there's some outside stuff, but a lot of it's them in a basement fucking standing head toe to toe. And there's almost a certain level of claustrophobia that gets brought in because of that. So fun use of it. And I'll go ahead and again, go another chalk pick here and take the other big VistaVision film, One Battle After Another. The scene of the car driving down the road, that right there is enough to nominate it for best cinematography because it looks so great. But then, I think of that scene out in the desert when Sean Penn and they and the guy meet up, and it's like the big, huge wide shot of them in the canyon. Even smaller moments that are like the tracking shot through the dojo and all the house, and following up through there. I love the oneer of Leo when he's on the roof running. Boom, falls, slapsticky, lands, gets back up. Obviously, there's some VFX stitching mixed in there, but incredible cinematography to literally have it basically track to the left, then go down, then get picked up and go handhold. It's like a really incredibly choreographed sequence. And the cinematography team here is interesting because like Paul Thomas Anderson is, for a lot of his films, has basically been a co-cinematographer. Michael Bauman is the person who's officially nominated.
I mean, definitely deserved to be on the list. That was absolutely my number 3 behind Train, Dreams, and Sinners. Yeah, everything you said. I mean, PTA, it's just I feel like this movie too, compared to others, with the use of VistaVision, it does stand out. I feel like, especially from a visual standpoint. Another shot that I really love too is Leo crawling out of his escape hole in their house, and like the tear gas is coming down on him. Like that's a really good, just like tracking kind of oneer of, I don't even know how they did it, honestly. Of it feels like it goes over him in the tunnel, and then you kind of have that POV shot of him breaking out. Just every scene, I feel like you could pick out something of creative camera work, and yeah, just stunning visuals altogether. So definitely one that deserves to be on the list here.
Yeah, I mean, PTA is a very athletic filmmaker. There's a lot of great scenes of just like movement and the editing and the score all just perfectly flowing together. It's almost a little Wes Anderson like with how choreographed everything feels and exact.
Yeah, speaking of which, that's actually gonna be my next pick. Uh, for Wes Anderson, The Man. Again, I feel like people forget this movie came out, but The Phoenician Scheme was a release this year, and my goodness, I mean, has Wes Anderson ever made a movie that just wasn't technically brilliant and just absolutely beautiful to look at? I haven't seen one. Yeah, that he's made yet. So highly doubtful, but I mean, this is a visual masterpiece, I think. Yeah, it was a great wonder at the beginning with Benicio, like him getting ready. That's just, I feel like, super, super difficult to actually execute. And then, yeah, obviously the rest of the movie, I mean, it's symmetrical as hell. It's absolutely beautiful. It does look a little bit kind of like Asteroid City, with like them going out to all these different places and stuff. Like it looks like his other films, but that doesn't mean it's not, still perfection. So I think it absolutely deserves a nod here. It's up there with my other nominees of just visual masterpieces, I think. Yeah.
Now we're getting a little more interesting, I think. I'm gonna go again in kind of the Train, Dreams, Sinners, One Battle lineage of just like things that are different, things that feel really unique and unlike anything else I've seen. And I'm gonna give some love to 28 Years Later. I think this movie shot on iPhone. I was very skeptical of that idea going into it, but I think it actually creates an aesthetic similar to that of the original film, kind of being the digital video movie. The kind of weird lighting and focus and frenetic energy of that they're able to do with the iPhones, and they're able to like strap them onto the fucking front of the people and have them running around. It's super just like electric cinematography. I would describe it as the way these infected are running at the camera is just really cool. And maybe it's getting a little bit of a bump for some of the stuff we saw in the Bone Temple as well, but I think the cinematography in 20 Years Later is really unique.
I definitely agree. I think that creativity of, like you're saying, I feel like the general response when you hear it's being shot on an iPhone is not super positive, but they actually do it for kind of good reasons. I feel like, of including those POV shots, with the infected and stuff, which is really, really cool and well done. Yeah, this is a movie that I think maybe I underrated a little bit. I don't think I have it anywhere that I want to talk about it today. So I'm glad you brought it up, especially in this category where it's deserved. But yeah, the second one is just so much better. I'm sorry. Going to be talking about that movie a lot next year, for sure. But yeah, from a visual standpoint, I mean, there's a ton of carryover, to the sequel as well, that they obviously kind of use this one as a template. And yeah, all of like the night shots at the temple and stuff, especially at the ending, is really effective. And shout out Aaron Taylor Johnson.
All right, Kody, what do you got next?
I'm gonna make you a little bit angry, maybe, but I'm gonna take Hamnet in cinematography. I think even like the opening shot is super telling of how beautiful this movie is, of her kind of taking a nap, next to her tree in the forest and stuff. Again, it's another kind of forest similar movie to Train Dreams. Very, very different in its cinematography, though. Obviously, more of it breaking down kind of the relationships between Jesse Buckley and a lot of different characters. You know, specific scenes that stand out cinematography too is like the birthing scene of kind of just a POV shot of Jesse Buckley, where we let the camera run for a really long time. And just her pure emotions are great, but also the way it's kind of structured. From a cinematic standpoint, I think it's really well done. There's another scene too where Shakespeare's about to leave, and it's just like Jesse Buckley sitting and him just like standing behind her. And it's just like, it's very creative with its shots. I think obviously the direction helps a lot with that, but yeah, and again, just to be a little bit repetitive, but I think it's a visual masterpiece all around. It's really dirty as well. Really does a great job of capturing the era of just the filth. But yeah, I love it.
Very intimate, very up close, personal cinematography style, which I think fits the movie well. I'll bring up one that I've talked about already in Resurrection. Again, I think just purely for that final sequence, but also just the way it's kind of playing off different film styles and film stocks. You have the black and white sequence. You have, just the different eras represented on film. And like I said, literally like the film like melting away at one point in a really unique way. That final sequence, the entire like thing is just red. Like it's got this distinct red color on top of the fact that it's an incredibly long oneer. And I just love all the vibes there. Resurrection would recommend checking it out.
Love that. No, it sounds really, really creative from that standpoint too. So good pick. My last pick, I think I'm going to go with F1, which it's kind of difficult. This is kind of like category blending for me, because I feel like it is more visual effects than anything else with this movie. Puts you into the driver's seat, literally, kind of an F1 car. But I think the race sequences specifically are what stands out to me, which again does have a lot to do with the visual effects. The majority of it is kind of visual effects, but at the same time, the way that they were able to just kind of strap the camera on, some of these cars, and also just the way they got shots, not using kind of the cameras strapped on the car too, I think is super interesting. So all around, kind of just a really cool technical achievement. And one that, again, I'm not really going to talk about anymore. So I kind of want to just throw it in and genre blend the category a little bit. So shout out Kerry Condon.
With my final pick, I'm going to go a little out of left field, and I'm going to take The Woman in the Yard.
Oh, wow.
Directed by Jon Collet-Serra, starring Daniel Deadwyler. This is like a horror movie that's about trauma, and the story a lot of people have bumped up against, which I understand, but this movie is shot to all hell. There are so many cool scenes of the camera looking through mirrors, looking through windows, reflections, shadows, light, the way it's just like every single scene and every single shot is playing with that imagery, headlights, car rear view mirrors, people peering through windowsills. Like there's just so much imagery directly connected to the idea of mirrors and windows and passageways that I just love. And it's visually interesting from beginning to end. So I really appreciated the movie. And it's one of those ones where if you go to my Letterboxd, it's higher rated than most people rate it. Even at only 3.5 stars, it's higher than average.
I love it. Shout out another underrated one. So, yeah, it's a fun one that you love that maybe doesn't have the best reviews, which I love movies like that.
Shot by Powell Porozeski, who appears to be Ari Aster's main cinematographer. He's done Midsummer, Hereditary, Beau is Afraid. Also shot Blue Beetle and the Bob Odenkirk film Nobody.
Nice. It's actually really good filmography. Love that. Very, very unique.
Give him the nom. Here's the 10 for best cinematography: Train Dreams, Sinners, Begonia, One Battle After Another, The Phoenician Scheme, 28 Years Later, Hamnet, Resurrection, F1, and The Woman in the Yard. All right, Kody, best score. I'll kick us off here, and we've mentioned it a bunch today again. One Battle After Another. I just love that Trust Device song in particular. I think the whole score is really good, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to it. The way it is both plot relevant as a literal device in the movie that plays a sound when the two pieces of technology are near each other. But I just love the way it's so like hypnotic, the way it sounds, that boom, boom. It's like this beeping, and then it slowly builds into this greater song. Again, Johnny Greenwood's politics, we don't need to get into, but as a pure work of score, I think One Battle After Another is incredible. And I've listened to that Trust Device song so many times.
Nice. Yeah, the Device song is great. I feel like a lot of the score too is just kind of, banging on different piano keys, especially in the beginning, like just kind of adding that in the background to have that intensity. Really well done. Definitely was near the top of my list. I think from my perspective, since you've taken it in every other category so far, I'm going to take Sinners. Not let you, not let you pick it.
Ludwig guy, Kody?
Yeah, and your boy Ludwig. I know. I got to get more on his good side, so make him happy with this pick. But I mean, yeah, the music and the score too are both just phenomenal in this movie. I think it's one of its biggest strengths for sure. And Ludwig absolutely kills it. I mean, he's got a great track record so far, but this may be like, this may be his magnum opus. This may be it, kind of his big thing that he's remembered for, and deservedly so. So all around, just iconic. Again, the one barn scene, I feel like is obviously the standout song. But again, like even the underlying score, I think is underrated just because everybody talks about the music. Yeah, just phenomenal. Give it the Oscar right now, I'd say.
His ability to kind of fuse different styles and cultures of music together to create something new is unlike any other. His Black Panther work is obviously great. Him and Ryan Coogler have an incredible working relationship. And also now he's Christopher Nolan's guy too. So, I mean, we love Ludwig. Him and Donald Glover, they go way back, of course. It is funny that it's just, some Swedish guy is the face behind the Center Store and this iconic blues, soundtrack. And it's a movie that the music has to be good in to work. And it's fucking incredible. Both the score and, of course, literally the actual songs that are performed as well, which I think this gets some love for. I Lied to You and everything else is great.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm going to take Begonia here. And we talked about it in our last episode. The Jerskin Fendrix score where he didn't even, watch the movie to compose it. It's just so loud and overpowering and like big orchestral music. It's kind of this perfect dissonance that is found between the images on screen and the insane music that's playing, and it creates a fun juxtaposition.
Yeah. No, and that was definitely at the top of my list, honestly, too, after a recent rewatch. Absolute banging score. He brought the entire orchestra, and just really for a movie that is super intense and kind of focused on just a few people, it really just like brings out big emotional moments through the score. I think the use of the score, like with the plot, is just very unique and something that we didn't see a ton in other movies this year. So Yorgos, I always like his scores in general too, like Poor Things. That's one of my favorite scores probably of all time. So I think, like you're saying, just the way that he used that of not having them see the movie is so cool, and I think it worked out perfectly. Yeah, awesome pick. I think with my next one, I'm gonna go for something that was just more memorable for me. How about Fantastic Four, man? That's got a great
Giacchino, your guy.
Fantastic Four. I feel like Giacchino, just that theme, like he nailed. I think that's one of his specialties. It's creating, iconic themes for franchises, obviously. But yeah, just outstanding work on the score side of things. Definitely have a lot of issues with the movie as a whole. But I think just from the technical perspective of the score, one of the standouts. Like I said, just kind of very memorable in my eyes. I think a good score is something that you remember, and it's not something that kind of just fades in the background. So the fact that, it's the bookend of the movie, it is the banging theme song. And I think you nailed it. So yeah, I do like Giacchino a lot.
And it fits the aesthetic of this
Perfect.
new fantastic world, this weird, kind of
retro techie,
retro futuristic, 50s Jetsons kind of,
exactly.
It's really good.
It's perfect. Yeah.
I was tempted to throw in some Superman, but I don't think I will. I'll throw in the Testament of Ann Lee here. Obviously, This is actually a musical, so again, the music is important, but the songs are a lot of like traditional hymns that have been updated. Daniel Blumberg, who of course did the score for The Brutalist as well, did the score and the music for the Testament of Ann Lee. Seifert singing these great ensemble cast singing and doing all the choreography together really just brings the songs together. I'll shout out particularly Hunger and Thirst. Give that one a listen. Play that a couple. My Hunger and Thirst. Yeah, it's good stuff, Kody. Beautiful music.
I'll add that song specifically to the watch list too. If it's a bang. Yeah, for my next one, you mentioned it. I'm going to pick Superman. I think the score is pretty solid. And again, just memorable altogether. Obviously with the Superman movie, it already has a theme, comparing it to Fantastic Four, which I guess those movies probably did, but who gives a fuck? But Superman already has an iconic one. So the fact that they didn't really change it. I mean, they kind of just made an iteration of it, but also at the same time, I mean, it's got great buildup, I think, for an inspirational kind of score, for an inspirational movie and an inspirational character. And specifically that scene where he's kind of coming out of the dust. One of my favorite shots, but the score during that scene, I think, is very underrated. Of his theme blasting at that point. So they just nailed Superman, I think, as a character. And yeah, if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it too much. And they definitely knew that, but they still did it respectfully and really, really effectively, I think.
Yeah, I think it iterates upon it in a really good way. That score has basically been redone 15 different times across, Superman Returns and the original run. And, it's a good fucking song. Shout out to John Williams.
That guy's pretty good, Johnny Boy, but
guy knows how to write a theme.
I guess. He's had a few good ones.
Since you took Superman, I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite here in the ways I've critiqued Hamnet.
Ooh,
but our category is not best original score. It is best score. And it is undeniable that the How to Train Your Dragon score, which largely is basically the same score as the animated film, might be one of the greatest scores of all time. Have you listened to this shit, Kody? The fucking test flight song. Oh my God. Like chills. When I was in the theater watching this movie, I was like, this does not look great. And it is not really doing anything new. But man, did the original have one of the greatest film scores of all time? And the answer is yes. So even though it is not doing a lot of iterating, it is, a little bit different. But the base layer there, fuck it. Give the animated film best score of 2025. I don't care. It's that good.
Well, it's not really animated, is it?
I'm saying the original. Give the original animated retroactively best score for this year.
I actually back that. No, the score from the original animation, unbelievable. Another full orchestra, but like you said, that flight test scene, I mean, it's playing in my head right now. Like it is that iconic and that good of a song, I feel like. So I back it. I did not check this one out just out of pure hatred for shot remakes, even though it's probably not. But yeah, I'm sure I am kind of jealous of not hearing that score in theaters, honestly. So maybe you should have made this pitch a few months back, but can never argue with picking that for a great score. It is undeniably iconic and just amazing. I would say it's up there for top 10 scores of all time, the OG. So definitely a great pick. I thought you were going to pick Hamnet, so I am disappointed. In that case, I am definitely going to pick Hamnet then. I'm still disappointed by your words about it, but I think the score is great. Of course, you have, I mean, for me personally, I do really love the song By the Nature of Daylight. I believe
I like Arrival. I like Adaptation. So yeah. Good movies.
I love those movies too, and this is definitely in that category. It's another great movie. I love The Bear too, which uses it. So it's 4 for 4 in my head at least. But yeah, the rest of the score too, other than that great song, which is a great bookend as well, and just so emotional, in the most emotional scene really. But the remaining earlier part of the movie too, I think is very well done. I think that part is underrated. Yeah, just altogether, do love this score. And yeah, it helps. It's bookended by, one of the best songs of all time. So
I was gonna say you declared this, I think, the greatest film song of all time, or
I would say so. Yeah, I think for one that gets consistently used in kind of the modern age, obviously, of not going too deep into film buff and film history and stuff like that, but I mean, heck, I can't think of another song that's utilized this effectively in emotional moments in multiple movies. And kind of just keeps getting away with it. So I think it's great.
Fair pick. Best score, not original. So Max Richter, you get off lucky this time. Man, I've got it down between two. And I did already shout out Jay Kelly's score and Nicholas Bertel. So I don't feel like I need to give it the love. So I'm just going to give Minecraft my last slot.
Oh my God.
A Minecraft movie. Not a great film. Kind of plotless, doesn't really make a lot of sense. Jason Momoa is there. And I am not awarding the Lava Chicken song or anything else that Jack Black is doing. However, if you know anything about Minecraft, it has a very iconic score in the game, very critically acclaimed music, from the very beginning, people have always appreciated just the Minecraft records, the Minecraft score. So I think when you make a movie, you do need to be able to capture that kind of like dreamlike, happy, ethereal music that plays at different points. And I would say the score does kind of build upon that. Again, using kind of the basic, framework of what a Minecraft song should be. But go listen to the theme. It's a fun, lighthearted, fun song. A Minecraft movie.
I've not played Minecraft or seen the movie, so I can't comment on the score. It's probably banging, to be fair. Chicken Jockey, does that contribute to it at all, or no?
Chicken Jockey? Yes, it does contribute.
It's the only really reference I have, but yeah, did not think that would pop up today either. So I love that inclusion, honestly. Shout out Momoa. For my last pick, I think I'm going to go with my man Hans Zimmer in F1, which I think is a really fun score. Hans is great, obviously being Nolan's guy for so long, but Nolan's kind of swapped him out. He's now kind of Kaczynski's guy, which I think they are a fun pairing. Specifically, too, I mean, the race sequences are just so much better with Han's score. Really, just showing off, the emotion of the race. When Brad Pitt takes the lead versus, when he falls behind or crashes. Like you have those very serious moments during crashes where the sound kind of cuts out altogether. Maybe that's more of a sound thing, but I think with the score that plays into it too, with kind of the buildup of, during the race of just a slow buildup, and then, once they kind of shoot to the front, it really does pick up, and I think it's an electric score. Yeah, love Hans, and on the technical standpoint, I think F1 is pretty elite.
It speaks to how noticeable the score is when it is missing. And yeah, it's the backbone for all the races. Hans, he's washed these days, but he's still putting in, decent numbers.
That's wild, calling him washed. But yeah, he's past his prime for sure. But he's still cooking. He always will.
Ready for Dune Part 3, though. I will say that.
Facts.
All right, Kody, our best score 10 is One Battle After Another, Sinners, Begonia, Fantastic Four, First Steps, The Testament of Anne Lee, Superman, 2025, How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, Hamnet, a Minecraft movie, and F1. We've got two basically just straight remakes in there, or at least two same titles.
Pretty much. A little bit cheating off other movies, but it's all right.
Best direction, Kody. Who is your best director?
I mean, this is a tough year. I think this is a pretty stacked year. Again, I'm gonna go chalk and take the very obvious one off the bat. I already talked about it a little bit, but I'll take Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Already mentioned, but I think this is probably my favorite movie of his that he's done so far, and he's really been. I mean, he hasn't missed in his career yet. So definitely high acclaim on this one for myself. From the directorial standpoint, I think it's just definitely a difficult task to blend together the story of the vampire elements. It's a musical, period piece, multiple love stories, a lot of moving characters with a lot of different themes, important to the era. But also, kind of the third act just being kind of this action, fantasy movie, a little bit of getting kind of the wooden stakes out and having a big shootout. And yeah, the crazy dance sequence with Jack McConnell is awesome. So I think from a directorial standpoint, this guy's just one of the best working today. I don't think there's really any argument about that. And yeah, especially after this, continue to just let him do whatever he wants. Because I think he just knocked it out of the park on a technical standpoint, casting, cinematography. There's really no flaws in this movie. So definitely an easy choice.
Yeah, in this category, I really want to shout out the movies that feel like they could not be made by anyone else and have a distinctly personal touch. And Sinners is that perfect first example of that. Feels very cumulative to where Coogler is in his career and everything he's kind of learned as a filmmaker. Also, you have the outside stuff, which I think we can mention here in director, where he shopped this movie around, created a financial deal where in 25 years he's going to retain control of the intellectual property and get it all back. Very specifically was what he set out to do when he was pitching this movie to studios, which again goes back to like the thematic ideals of this film and about how Black art should be held and owned by Black artists. And so he said, when I make this movie Sinners, in 25 years, I need to make sure that it is going to be mine. It's just going to be some white studio owner perpetually making money off of it forever. So, and that could be fucking David Ellison. When you think about it, you got fucking Paramount coming in, and it's a cool thing that he got to do that. And again, nobody else could have made this movie.
100%. Yeah. Anybody else, I think it's completely different. Definitely not as successful. So his vision, I think, was awesome, and glad it came to fruition. But yeah, just I think one of the best working day, no doubt.
Sticking with the personal, I'm going to take Kleber Mendoza Fila for The Secret Agent. This is a movie, again, it's basically kind of about the place that he grew up in. It feels so distinct and set in this place and time, the city of Recife in Brazil, and is a, personal story, but also has this unique, interesting spin on it, as just this winding narrative about a family. The editing and the choices to kind of place certain events before others and to kind of set up the movie in a kind of, wrong footy way. Even just that title, The Secret Agent, sets your expectations in a way, purposefully in the wrong way, which I really appreciate. And when I watched Kleber's directorial debut, a movie called Neighboring Sounds, which is also set in Recife, I just only gained more appreciation for the world that he was kind of able to bring to life, and how just specific and unique, and how like every single one of his characters always feels like real unique people with these deep, intricate lives. So yes, that's in the writing, but it's also in just the direction.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he is a very good addition to this. Specifically, too, we were talking about kind of the cast as a whole and how deep it is, but that definitely plays a lot into the direction, I feel like, as well, of incorporating all of these different characters.
People who haven't even acted in movies. How do you get performances out of them? That Donna Sebastiana lady, I think she's acted some, but she's also just like a seamstress. She's a working class lady who he's pulled in to be a fun addition to his movies.
Yeah. And for that movie to be such a timestamp of that era too, I mean, it's just oozing with style, and great pick. I think on that side of things for sure. I think for my next one, I will stay a little bit on topic of one I just picked, and I'll pick Hamnet again, just to keep singing the praises of Chloe Zhao. I think that, similar to what you're saying, I think this is just a completely different movie if anybody else is at the helm. With this too, I do just love kind of her perspective on this story as kind of a story we all think we know in theory. And obviously, I don't think this is based on a true story or anything, but just kind of giving us a much different perspective of who to focus on, character-wise, focusing on Jessie Buckley and not so much on the Shakespeare character. And also just like the feeling of connection, with that duo, but also just like with the family as a whole is so natural. The way that she's able to direct these kid actors, I think, is masterful. I think this is definitely a lot of the best kid performances of the year in this movie, and I think that's a lot of credit to her. And then, kind of like I was saying before, too, just the transportation into this old world, but also having like some of these mystical elements. Like it's kind of balancing several things at once as well. Just trying, take it seriously as this kind of period drama, but also having kind of these, the spirituality a lot to it. So yeah, just a lot of moving parts, and I think she absolutely nailed it.
I won't talk shit about Hamnet. I'll just move on. I'm going to take Begonia next. Again, unique Yorgos. Anytime you watch a Yorgos movie, I think you could, that thing where you could cover up the name on the front of the DVD and put it in, and you would still probably be like, was this made by some weird Greek guy who used to play basketball? And the answer is yes, it was. I think just the commitment he's able to get out of his actors in Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, anyone who is in one of his movies is fully on board, and there's an absolute buy-in to do the most wild, insane shit possible. And then, it's the same thing. You pull in people like Stavros, who have never really acted before, and Aidan Delbus, the supporting character here. Just these fun, unique positions. Alicia Silverstone in a role that you would never expect someone to play, but I think it's really effective. The choices to use black and white in some moments, and the flashbacks, and kind of do something more surrealist. All of that stuff. The bees as a big thematic ideal I love to open and close the movie. All that stuff is just so distinctly Yorgos Lanthimos.
100%. it's just a Yorgos movie. He's gonna he's gonna be in consideration for best director, I think, anytime he makes a movie. So no doubt he absolutely deserves to be on this list, and especially like you said, with a little bit of some side characters maybe being some unknowns. Just great direction, I think, with all the actors and letting Plemons and Emma Stone, really just do their thing and trusting the process. Obviously, his relationship with Emma Stone is one of the best, actor director relationships, working today. So hopefully they just keep pumping out stuff nonstop, because I love everything that he does, and definitely stylistically, you can always tell it's a Yorgos movie, no doubt about it. I think I'm going to stay pretty similar as well. I mean, this category is tough to delve out too far, I feel like, from a lot of our favorites. But I'll say Sorry Baby. Definitely want to include Eva Victor in the Best Director category as well here. Just the fact too that it is her directorial debut is still a little bit mind blowing to me. And then, kind of like I was saying earlier too, just the fact that she's starring in it, she did write it, she's also the director. I feel like that can be a little bit troublesome, to be having so many hats on a film set, and not let that affect your performance, and not let that affect how you direct kind of the scenes and the other actors in them. And I don't think any of that affected anything with her performance. She's absolutely phenomenal in all aspects, writing specifically for sure, also acting. I think she's really, really great. So the fact that she was also doing everything behind the camera, it's kind of like, I don't even know how you did all of this and how it turned out so good, especially with such a serious subject matter, but also just showing her personality and kind of her dark comedy throughout too. So just phenomenal. And the fact it's a directorial debut, I think, bumps it up on my list too.
I just think back to when I first showed the movie to Mina and we got to the end of it, and Mina was like, "Oh, Ava Victor also directed this movie and starred in it." Like, yeah, that performance out of themselves, which is incredible. And any movie where you would put a cat in, I think we're both going to be into. So really fun. Points. Easily the best debut of the year. And honestly, like you said, I'm perfectly comfortable as one of the 10 best directorial efforts, period.
Oh, easy.
All right. For my next pick, I'm going to go ahead and grab Ann Lee. Again, I think I really love this movie. I think Mona Fastfold, the director of the film, should have been nominated. Again, wholly unique having her at the helm of this. She is a European person, so she kind of has this outsider's perspective on American history, but is able to represent it in an interesting way. You also have the collaboration with a lot of people working before, like Daniel Blumberg. The cinematography of this movie is incredible. I got to see it on a 70mm print. It looks beautiful. A lot of really harrowing and emotional scenes and gut-wrenching things that they do choose to show you. It doesn't really shy away from anything, any of the darker stuff, any of the more harrowing, explicit, hard to watch scenes. I think it's an important one that it's not many people know about. And I think Mona Fastfold made a very distinct choice to choose this character, to choose this real life person to tell a story about. And only she could have done it in this way.
Has she ever worked with Amanda Seyfried before?
I don't think so. Yeah, it was the first time. And I mean, another cool thing about this movie is just like huge scenes of a lot of people dancing, where it's like big choreographed scenes that you have to shoot and plan. And yeah, it's really impressive.
I like that. Fun pick there. I'm a little bit torn on where to go. I think I actually probably should have brought this movie in my underrated ones, because I thought it would make our top 10. It's probably number 11, to be completely honest, if I didn't pick Predator Badlands. But I'm gonna say let's throw Raka Raka into the ring. Shout out to Michael and Danny Philippou.
We'll bring her back.
Philippou. Yeah, Bring Her Back is their second feature, which I did enjoy their debut as well. But with this, like, it is really interesting, just like the type of horror movies they do enjoy to make. I feel like with this one, it is a bit more of like physical horror compared to Talk to Me, is a little bit more psychological. Sally Hawkins, who's obviously a great actress, like she gets to go just crazy kind of into a physical performance. But I feel like the direction is pretty solid as well, because it's more focused on like this sibling duo from the story perspective of just kind of they've been through a lot. Obviously kind of, Sally Field taking over guardianship and everything. So it's just a tough tough moment for them, but you do feel that connection between them. I feel like it does a great job of focusing more on just like these kids' relationships than, a lot of the creepy aspects. Obviously, you got like this videotape and the ritual and this other kid with the shaved head. Like you got a lot of horror elements, but to me, it feels like a character study almost of just like this interesting sibling duo who's been through hell and back. So yeah, I think like this director duo is just a bit proven in my eyes, and this for sure was one of my favorites of the year. Another good A24 movie, but yeah, I'm just excited. I know they're going to make a sequel, I believe, to Talk to Me, which I'm excited for. But yeah, just let them do whatever they want because they can be so creative with the camera work as well. Obviously, with a ton of their YouTube stuff. I mean, you can see that pretty clearly. So yeah, just keep giving them the freedom, and I think that they'll be a pretty good force going forward.
They were supposed to direct the Street Fighter movie that's coming out this year, but I think there were some creative differences and also just them actually going and Bring Her Back instead. But it would have been interesting to see them take on Street Fighter. It's probably more interesting than what they are doing.
Yeah. I mean, I would just prefer them not to go into like franchise fighting, which I feel like their style, especially like their YouTube, like that makes sense. But I feel like their take on horror, it just feels like somewhat fresh and just very unique in their styling. So I hope they stay in the genre. They could definitely sell out and go like more fighting franchises because all of their YouTube videos that I've seen, I feel like that's definitely what they're good at.
The visceral nature of this movie at points is very shocking. I know you love the melon scene in particular, like that right there. It's like, how the fuck do you even shoot that?
Yeah,
impressive.
Yeah, that's a brutal watch. And another little kid, a few kid actors. So again, tough to
doing weird shit. Kid actors doing weird shit.
Doing really weird shit. Yeah. Shout out.
Alrighty. I'm gonna take a movie and director we have not talked about yet today, and it's actually a film we got to see together. I think maybe the only 2025 release. Park Chan-wook for No Other Choice. Not one of my very favorite movies of the year, but I think a very interesting film and a very pertinent one when it's especially as someone who spent a lot of last year looking for a job, interviewing, just understanding how awful it is to try and actively re-enter the workforce or find a new job. In the current state of things with AI gleaming and technology and all this, greater pressures. And then on top of that, like, I just think it's a really interesting directed movie. There's a lot of really fun transitions in between scenes. I think about that scene from the trailer where he's like pulling the various gloves off his hand, boom, boom, boom. And then finally there's the glove underneath. Just like these really interesting imagery. The guy that's like buried up until his neck, like all these like creepy, awful, like weird things. The guy who gets twisted, like all this stuff is just so uniquely Park Chan-wook that I just appreciate it. Even if the story stuff and like him and his wife doesn't really like work for me fully. I think it's an incredible feat of direction.
Yeah, another undeniably just very well directed movie, I would say, even though, like you said, I do have just like story problems in general with it. But the premise alone too, I think to tackle something like this takes a lot of passion. So I do just love him going forward and kind of doing a story that he's interested in and is something kind of crazy that I don't know if anybody else would even attempt to do. But yeah, I feel like all the unique situations too. I feel like the one scene of them crawling around, fighting for the weapon and stuff, like the tonality of
the
that.
music's playing and yeah.
And it's hard to juggle because it is definitely a dark comedy in a lot of moments, but it also is, very, very serious of a guy fighting for his life and fighting for his family.
It's about how you have to like kill your fellow worker and kill the competition to literally survive. And it's just like, imagine if you guys were all able to come together and like use your collective strength as peoples and as individuals. And, whether that's through a union or just like collective action. Instead, they're pitted against each other to literally like fight and murder each other just for one job where you're watching robots work.
Yeah. And I feel like it's one this could have made the underrated. I thought you were going to bring it up more often, honestly, but with his whole thing, obviously, who's after him, the Writers Guild or the Directors Guild, somebody's after him.
WGA, yeah.
So I wish that kind of didn't happen because I feel like this movie would have gotten more love at the Oscars and deservedly so. But yeah, I think undeniably he's just a great director. My last pick, I believe here, I'm gonna double down on Wes. I think the Phoenician scheme deserves to be on this list. Wes Anderson, just the director, I think, of a generation. And I mean, this is by far the most symmetrical movie of the year. So I think need to give it its props for that. But with that too, I mean, I think the direction is impressive just because, I mean, the vastness of the cast alone. I mean, it is a West movie, so it's not surprising. But I mean, for a movie and a script that's so fast paced moving and so many different characters, I feel like it's one that could have gone off the rails pretty easily and kind of just been like just very confusing and just not effective at all. But I think he found a bit of a profound pairing with Michael Cera. I believe, is this the first time they worked together? I could not confirm that. I feel like
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Maybe he was in one of those Netflix shorts that I didn't watch, to be completely fair. But I think their pairing is just phenomenal in this. Also, like the emergence of the main female lead. I'm going to butcher her name, but Mia Threppleton, something like that. It's her breakout performance as well. And I mean, she felt like a seasoned vet in this movie, and she's in basically the entire thing. So I think Wes obviously helps out with that. You know, his style and his scripts, I think make the actors' jobs maybe a little bit easy here. And yeah, he just doesn't get the damn respect that he deserves. So I'm here to shout out my boy Wes. I don't know why he doesn't have like 3 best director wins and several best pictures, but that's just the world we live in, which is unfortunate. But yeah, this is a hell of a directed movie, I think.
Do you know who Mia's mother is?
Oh, is she a Nepo baby?
Her mother's Kate Winslet.
Oh, that fucking makes sense. Okay. Wow, I didn't realize that. I'm surprised she didn't get scooped up by James Cameron or somebody that Winslet loves to work with. I'm sure she's probably in like all the Avatar movies.
She might be in an Avatar. Watch out.
I don't even know. But after this, she's definitely going to be in the next Avatar because yeah, she was awesome. One that I don't think I did include on my acting list, but deserves recognition for sure.
I'll just finish with an easy one, and I'll take Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another. Everything we've talked about, this very much feels like a very personal movie with his own family relationships. It's also a book that he's been trying to make a movie out of for 25, 30 years at this point. And yet it still feels just as relevant and set in the moment. It's a contemporarily set film that feels very accurate, even though it's, you know, a book from the 80s and a script he's had for such a long time. Like we talked about with the cinematography, all the very active filmmaking. I think of that scene early where Alana Haim gets shot in the head as just like a really shocking piece of like visceral action filmmaking. And then everything from there is a lot of fun. The Christmas Adventure stuff, that house when they're going through the basement is fun set design and a cool idea. All that stuff is so unique and absolutely ridiculous.
Like you said, I feel like thematically too, it just has relevance, super important story, and no better man to helm this, I don't think. Shout out Jungle Pussy as well. Not a ton of mentions of her, but just including a character with that name, I think deserves props on
her real name, to be fair. Well,
I know
her real self-chosen moniker. Yeah. I don't think she was born Pussy, but I could be wrong.
But it's possible. But I want to shout out to one specific shot, the helicopter shot of them coming in. I feel like on a second watch, I really love that. They look up and like they see this helicopter. Obviously, they don't know who it is, but then it's just like the straight cut to the direct shot, and then it's them like doing this big sway. So I feel like just every scene is kind of like that, where it's like, holy shit, like this is really well done, and yeah, it's definitely deserved PTA to be on the list here.
Our 10 best directed films are Sinners, The Secret Agent, Hamnet, Begonia, Sorry Baby, The Testament of Anne Lee, Bring Her Back, No Other Choice, The Phoenician Scheme, and One Battle After Another. All right, Kody, we're getting down to it. Last of the technical categories before we get to acting. Best writing, and I'll kick us off. A movie we have not mentioned yet, Blue Moon. I really love the script of this one, and obviously it's Ethan Hawke just kind of delivering long monologues. Very, you know, New York, East Coast, upper crust intelligentsia, high society, you know, a little bit ridiculous. Does anybody actually talk or think like this? However, it is a really fun script. And, whether it's bringing in Stuart Little shout outs or or other little fun bits of trivia. It's an interesting story about an artist who feels like they're being left behind by the times and by a world and a society that doesn't need their sensibility anymore. It is looking for something simpler, more sanitized. Doesn't want something with a hard, sharp edge to it, a bite to it. And what do you do as a sad artist whose work is no longer the thing that's in vogue?
That's very interesting. This is one I've not checked out, unfortunately, but do love the inclusion. Shout out Linklater. Shout out Margaret Qualley as well. But yeah, it seems like a tight script as well. I mean, it seems like pretty much singular location.
Yep.
And sticking with
one bar / hotel, basically.
Sticking with Hawk in a bald cap for most of it. So I'm on board, but it seems like a movie right up my alley as well. So definitely, I do love the inclusion there. It's
written by a guy who had barely really written movies.
Really?
Robert Kaplow. He wrote Me and Orson Welles the movie, which Linklater directed, but otherwise is kind of a novelist. Best screenplay nomination, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, he got a nom, so it's definitely a great intro to the movie world. And I mean, I feel like it's a movie difficult in theory, just off the premise, to make it interesting, since it is so simple. But yeah, sounds like you nailed it. So shout out to the former novelist. My first pick, I'm gonna take The Secret Agent. My first inclusion of this movie, and I think the script for me, it is, I think, the strongest point of the movie altogether. Specifically, too, even with the title, kind of like we were talking about, the unexpectedness of it. Really does a good job of kind of subverting your expectations. And yeah, just the overall transportation, I think, into this world is super immersive. Also, too, the interesting thing they do with the time jump, kind of with researchers and stuff, I think is just a very interesting storytelling decision, and the way to kind of structure the story altogether, I thought was super effective. Also, too, I mean, there's not really a ton of action early on at all in the movie. It's pretty mellow, but at the same time, like, the intensity is always there, even compared to the third act, which is very, very intense. Clearly, the opening scene, I was I was pretty worried when the cops rolled up, and that dialogue I thought was fun. But also too, like, the in between scenes of them enjoying kind of their time together at this hotel, everybody hanging out. You know, like I was saying before, it's difficult for them to trust these people, even though, like, they are so likable, and in any other circumstances, it would probably be a really fun gathering and stuff. But everybody's just on the run from a lot of problems, so it can't be that, unfortunately. So I just love all the little dialogue scenes. It's a movie that, again, is not super action oriented, but just kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time.
It's just constantly simmering. Like, it always feels like it's close to boiling, but never quite reaches that point. In a way that I again feel is totally unique and unlike so many other movies that I've seen. It makes, I feel like, the opposite choice that so many others would in a lot of different instances. And then again, like we've talked about, you have stuff like the leg and the cat and all these additions that are just so unique to the time and place, and they're commenting on something greater. Really fun movie, and I was definitely going to put this in my writing category as well before you stole it from me, so shout out to you. And I'll grab Sorry Baby here again for all the reasons we've talked about. Just a really funny script, like so darkly humorous, joyful but depressing at the same time. Again, another movie similar to My Father's Shadow, that's arguing for hope and for a bright future for our children, and that there's more that can be done for us. Sorry Baby, literally more cats in movies. Write them. If you put a cat in your script, you put a cat in your movie, I'll give you all the awards. I'll say it again.
We'll definitely give it a letterbox tag, if nothing else. But,
true.
Yeah, great script. Obviously, I back that completely. Again, shout out Eva Victor. Just killed it, and basically every element that she was involved in the film. So immaculate script, I think, for a debut. I'm actually going to talk about one that we've not brought up yet. I'm going to take The Long Walk, which for me is not one of my favorites of the year. It's kind of in that mid-tier range, but I think actually the premise and the writing altogether is pretty great. Obviously, it's based off of a Stephen King novel. or maybe not a novel, but just off a Stephen King story. So they have some stuff to work with, to be fair. But I thought the world building on its own in the beginning was very simple. Not a ton of over exposition. Definitely gives you the basics of the world and kind of what this competition is. But from there, it really propels. Obviously, just focusing on these characters in the long walk. We have this group that obviously forms and becomes pretty good friends. And again, it's another movie where, I mean, they're literally just walking and talking for 2 hours basically. But again, like obviously in this scenario, the intensity is very high just because of the situation that they are in. But also at the same time, it is just because of like the great dialogue. I feel like the relationship between Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson specifically, like all of their scenes, are brilliantly acted for sure. But at the same time, I think the script is just as good as their performances. And I don't really love like Mark Hamill's performance and stuff there, and I don't really love, I guess, the ending arcs for the characters. Like, there's definitely stuff I don't love, but I think the script on its own really does deserve a lot of recognition.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's literally just people walking and talking for most of the movie, and it is pretty effective. Obviously, Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson, I think, have a lot to do with that as being two,
For sure.
up and coming stars. But yeah, this is a really fun script, and I think it does a good job of explaining the rules of the long walk and doing all that exposition stuff, which is kind of can be a slog to get through. And this movie, runs through it pretty quickly and makes it clear. You're not sitting there watching your roarball game, wondering when the refs are going to call a foul.
It's true. They established the rules at least.
You stop walking, you get a warning.
Pretty simple. Yeah. But also just like, I mean, the grossness of bodies breaking down as well. It's just like, it's going to, it's going to fail inevitably, but still like the positivity in the script, I think, leads through. And I do really like that aspect of it.
I'm going to take weapons next, which I think is the first time I've picked weapons for anything. But I think the script, is the standout here, especially the obviously Magnolia-esque kind of framework of each character has their own section. So you kind of, maybe you're reliving some scenes from different perspectives at different points. But I think each time the new information that you're gaining, or even the way that some scenes are playing out, feels differently because you have different context. I think specifically the Julia Garner, Alden Ehrenreich scene in the bar, the first time you see it, I feel like you get one reading on their relationship. And then the next time you see it from the other's perspective, it almost has this whole other context and greater emotional arc as you see this stuff. And, you learn more that he's cheating on his girlfriend and all this stuff. So it's like a movie that in its structure is uniquely giving more and more information to the audience in a really fun way. And then also focusing on each of these individual characters and giving them their own moment to shine.
Absolutely agree. I think you said it perfectly there too. I do love the way that it's structured, specifically giving us different angles on the same story. I think that's always a fun thing to do. And yeah, I mean, altogether, like, it does a great job too, I think, of holding its cards until it's needed to be played. It kind of, at the perfect time, gives us the explanation, and then kind of everything else at that point is just super easy to go from there. So yeah, this is a phenomenal pick, and definitely one of the best scripts of the year. This category for me is, a little bit of a lot that we haven't talked about yet. I'm going to take Eternity, which I think is a little bit underrated. Again, not my favorite movie altogether, but I think specifically the premise and the script and the world building is actually really, really great. It's kind of like a modern version of Sophie's Choice, I feel like. They're going for a little bit of, like, it is a difficult situation of, somebody waits for you, I don't remember, what, 50, 60 years before going to the afterlife. What do you do if
your first love?
Yeah, they died in war versus, your lifelong husband who, you had a family with, and you had all this time. You guys know each other so well. I just think like that premise is really well done. But then also too, I mean, the going back and forth, Elizabeth Olsen's character, I think obviously a little bit undecisive, which makes it even more fun. But just kind of her trying to figure out who is the best match for her, trying a lot of different things to do that. I just think altogether it's just underrated. And again, the world building of it all too, of kind of the counselors or whoever who are kind of, their story is still questionable of like, what are you even doing here? And, eternity is eternity. Like there's no coming back. Like that's definitely a scary version of that too. So I think it has a lot of fun ideas and asks a lot of tough questions that I don't think I saw too much of this year.
My problems with this movie are more in the casting, and then just like you get to a point where it's like, why would you choose any of these guys, Elizabeth Olsen? Why wouldn't you just go fucking live by yourself in a turn?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it makes a good enough argument for that. And it definitely is. She considers it. And I think it goes on for a little bit too long, I would say, but just the concept alone, I think, is a really good setup, even if it doesn't fully land the plane in the way I was hoping.
I agree. I think that's kind of this category for me a little bit of, I do like the setup a lot. Maybe I don't love where it ended up. Like you're saying, I mean, kind of her back and forth. Is it, who do you not like in it? Callum Turner or
both?
Not a big.
I don't know why you
don't like Miles Teller.
It seems like an obvious choice. Fuck these dudes. They both suck.
Oh, I thought you were talking about from a acting perspective. You didn't like that, but from
well, it's just also just
character
like
perspective.
Neither of them have that like charisma to sell it. Like I don't know. I think Callum Turner is not a movie star. Dua Lipa might disagree, but
yeah, I feel like he was just chosen because like he's dating Dua. Like there's no other real reason.
I just think they're both very boring people, and obviously Teller's supposed to be playing boring, but
yeah, don't hate on my boy Miles. Come on, he's good at boring.
You think Wanda could have just like changed reality or something and made it so they both could live together, but
true.
Her powers are
maybe it's an Agatha all along spinoff. Wiccan was behind it all.
I'll take Sinners here just to grab the obvious pick. Again, it's the thing I'm talking about. All these ideas of the cultural legacy of Black art and the way throughout the decades, particularly in America, but all across the world, it's been kind of, stolen and reclaimed by, fucking white high schoolers, wearing basketball shorts or whatever, listening to hip hop music, or the way blues was stolen to create rock and roll or, whatever it may be. This movie is using a genre story that we know so well, vampirism, and taking that as a metaphor for the stealing of the culture, the assimilation. Are you guys brothers? Nah, we cousins. That's good writing right there.
That's a great line.
So yeah,
shout out to that line. But yeah, completely agree. This deserves to be on there. I don't think any real argument against it. Again, it's just like start to finish as well. I do love the kind of setup of having him walk into the church, after the fact, and you kind of see the shaking. You don't get that arc until the end of like he doesn't want to drop.
How did you? It's a good setup. How do we get to this point? What caused this?
It's not what you expect too, because I feel like at that moment you're like, oh, he's back in the church. He's gonna release the guitar and go back to his dad. But I like the overall arc too of like, nah, like he still loves music so much. He's not willing to let go, even though he's been through hell. So yeah, I think altogether and all the thematic stuff, like you were saying too, it doesn't hit you on the head with it. Like it presents you with a lot of the information for you to kind of make your own decisions. And I think those are kind of the best types of movies altogether. So no doubt it definitely deserves to be on here.
And there's that final scene that's almost post-credity that we haven't talked about where you flash forward and Buddy Guy is playing the older Miles Caton character. And they're like, hey, we could turn you into a vampire right now, like if you want. And he says no, which I think is such a pivotal decision that his character makes. And of course the whole, last time I seen the sun line at the end as well. Last time I seen my brother, just for a few hours, we was free. Really beautiful stuff to wrap up the music.
Yeah. Perfect ending, I'd say. And a good epilogue. I think a worthy epilogue as well. So definitely good writing there.
Yeah.
Okay. For my next pick, I think I'm going to dive into the crazy scripts. I'm going to go, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, which I think is definitely a hectic script to say the least. And obviously it's helmed with Rose Byrne, kind of very front and center, literally, with the camera just always being focused on her. But for me, it just invokes a lot of stress, I would say. It's kind of one of those movies where you're just trying to keep up with the characters. But also, too, I think one of the really fun elements of it is obviously Rose Byrne is going through all this very difficult personal stuff with her daughter. Her daughter won't eat, which is just another scary parenting fear that was unlocked. But the thing that I love with the script is like, her job as a therapist. She's going through all this crazy stuff, but also like she's seeing Conan, who is her therapist. But the way that she's using Conan is kind of just like lashing out on him. I feel like of kind of similar behaviors that she gets, in her sessions of helping people out. So I think just the complexity of that and breaking down somebody's profession while they're going through something so personally difficult, I think is a really interesting place to have a character like this. And yeah, I think it's just focus on Rose Byrne's character specifically too is really well done. It could have been a movie that sort of similar to like Marty Supreme, which I might talk about next. Just having like a million characters and trying to keep up. But I feel like with just the focus of on this one character allows you to dive so much deeper into her and just really understand kind of why she's a little bit going crazy. I mean, it's definitely understandable. So I think it's an underrated one for sure.
Yeah, as someone who's had the ceiling in their apartment collapse, I can say it's not a fun time. It's a very stressful thing, and you add everything else that lady had to deal with, her problems, her insane patient's problems. I loved all the scenes when she's in therapy with people, and then of course, like you said, she goes and has her own therapy with Conan, and the doubling of like she sets a boundary with her patients, but then she doesn't want to set that with herself, and yeah. Argument for why you shouldn't just dump all your problems on some person, but that's what they get paid to do. So
not enough, but
therapists need therapists.
True.
I'm gonna go a little wacky here as well, and I'm gonna take the film Roofman.
Nice.
Which
Dinklage
could have been underrated as well, and honestly, Dinklage might be the worst part about it. But this movie is funny, and it's a lighthearted Channing Tatum film, guy on the run from the cops, whatever. But it ends up being a lot more sentimental and heartfelt than I was expecting. It really is an interesting, commentary on the prison system and trying to, just do the right thing and succeed. And in a world that feels like a lot is built against people trying to, come up with better ways to survive. Whether that's living inside a Toys R Us or what have you. But I just think this is a really fun movie, and it's got a lot of good sentimentality. The stuff between Channing Tatum's character and Kristen Dunst's character is really fun. They have a good relationship. And it is, an emotional struggle because they are both people who have poor relationships prior to meeting each other, so they're both kind of figuring out how to be in love with each other, but obviously there's betrayals and secrets to be had.
Lots of secrets with the Roofman, I would assume, but one that I actually really did want to check out, I know it's on Paramount Plus as well, which I steal from my mom. So one on the watch list, and it has Dinklage. So high on the watch list. But I've heard underrated things about it, but I did not kind of expect, kind of that layering with the script. So that is very cool. Fun pick.
All right, last one, Kody. What's your final pick?
Last pick, I just name dropped it, and I don't think we're going to talk about it at all, unless you want to talk about Timmy, which I don't. But I think Marty Supreme, from a script perspective, it is definitely an achievement. I mean, again, it's a Safdie movie. I guess this is the bad Safdie we've established.
Yes, this is the bad Safdie.
Okay, so,
I mean, again, neither probably great. They were both in the room.
Neither great, but this is definitely the worst of the two, it seems. So not a ton of recognition to him, but I think the script as a whole is pretty interesting. Obviously we talked about a little with Goat too, but just this character who has kind of big dreams and, also a sports movie. I love ping pong personally. So one that I connect to there, the opening tournament, I think is really well done. And then just going from there. Yeah. I mean, it's just a craziness kind of going, just trying to keep up. And same with Timmy's character of obviously trying to do anything possible to kind of make this trip a reality. And it just goes off the rails. So I think it's really fun. Obviously, I think the actors and the casting has a lot to do with it altogether. But yeah, script wise, I mean, throwing in the Tyler the Curator, hustle scene, and also to the the honey scene, I think that's a really testament to the script of including kind of different tones and different factors and still making it all pretty cohesive. Also just, and, starting it and bookending it with banging 80 songs. Not really the screenplay, but just
maybe
really
he
good.
wrote that into the screenplay.
He wrote there would
Forever
be a
Young
song.
will play
Probably.
a children's choir.
But just altogether, really complimentary, I think, to make Timmy's performance so great. But yeah, just a fun, crazy Safdie script.
You have now selected both a husband and a wife for two separate movies. Of course, Marty Supreme, written by Josh Safdie and Ronald Bronstein, and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, written by his wife and directed by his wife, Mary Bronstein. So there's definitely a layer of that Safdiness as well, and similar anxiety filmmaking that I don't want to be a part of that marriage. Those people have to be fucking crazy, both of them.
Yeah, that's a crazy combo of movies for a marriage. So I don't know if you can find a better combination of crazy movies with a marriage than that. Honestly, that's awesome.
But maybe the Bronsteins, I've said it, they're the true secret sauce of the Safdie experience.
True. Take them away. Let's see what happens. It's not going to be as good, I don't think.
All right, our 10 best written movies of 2025 are Blue Moon, The Secret Agent, Sorry Baby, The Long Walk, Weapons, Eternity, Sinners, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Roofman, and Marty Supreme. All right, now we're moving over to our last two categories, our acting categories. We decided we were just going to do supporting and lead, not split it up by gender, so we're just going to have 10 picks each. We'll start with supporting performance. And you've got the first pick, Kody.
Oh man, so many good ones here that I could shout out.
This is, to me, I think the biggest category. We have the most honorable mentions, and we should definitely do some quickly at the end.
100%. For me, I do want to start off with maybe some obvious ones, but I think undeniably deserved. So my first pick, I'm going to take Miles Caton for Sinners.
Nice.
Just a massive, obviously, breakout introducing role. But this kid can do it all. I mean, his voice is unbelievable. He's also just really good from an acting perspective, I think, in the movie. He has to, deal with a relationship arc. He also has that relationship with his father, kind of the preacher boy and kind of how that shapes him as a person. And then, he has all these different elements that he has to do as well with the horror, with the action, with the music. He really is just a kind of jack of all trades in this movie, and just a beaming kind of light of positivity as well. I love kind of his intro scene where he's out super early, kind of getting his share done, so he can go and enjoy kind of the rest of the day. Just a really likable character, and yeah, heck, I hope that he kind of maybe attaches to the hip of Coogler, kind of becomes one of his go-to guys, because I thought he was just phenomenal in this.
Yeah, I mean, his singing is incredible, and he was able to do that when he was cast in the role, but he learned to play the blues guitar just to be this character, which I think is impressive in its own right. A true discovery. I was reading here that they fielded like Zoom calls and tapes from all across the country, people who were musicians that had never acted, actors who had never played music before. He comes from a family of vocalists. His mother is a gospel singer. He's performed music since he was a little kid, but I really hope that he continues to act. I think this was my 1-1. This was, if I was going first, I was picking this. It's weirdly a performance that hasn't gotten a lot of love at any award shows or anything. And I think a lot of that has to do with it being like a debut performance and introducing. If there was a best new performer award, I feel like this would be the obvious winner. But I think he's also just like the best supporting performance of the year. Arguably, like maybe the lead, he is the POV character at the very least in the movie. Michael B. Jordan, those two are the leads, but like he's the one we start in the movie with. So
for sure. Yeah, I mean, he has the amount of screen time to probably be qualified as a lead. And yeah, I mean, the story does revolve around him per se, but it's hard to deny just the star power of Michael B. Jordan. I mean, being the obvious lead. So there's an argument for sure.
All right. My first pick. Since you did a Sinners, I'll go for a one battle after another just to knock them off. And it's not probably the one that you want to go. I'm going to take Benicio del Toro. A Few Small Beers, Kody. So good. Also, you have to give him credit because apparently a lot of the parts of the movie that he was in or not written as this, or maybe didn't even exist prior to him coming in and kind of shaping this character, building out this little community resistance revolution organization he has, all the people, in his dojo, in his house. Like, that was stuff that him as a person wanted to add to the story. And I think it's what makes or break one battle after another. If you cut that out of it, it's much lesser of a movie. So one, for his incredible performance in delivering, come on, Bob, put your phone away, a few small beers, telling him he has to jump out of the car, and just the actual external stuff that he brings in as a performer to the story.
I think definitely a great performance. Definitely great supporting as well, because he's not in the film that much, but his scenes are just so memorable, kind of when he is there. So very quotable, like you said. Just iconic. I like the scene too where he kind of bids Leo adieu, and then just like goes and chills in that little hiding spot with the rug. Just a man with a plan always, like you said, cool, calm, collected. I feel like throughout, with kind of the opposite of Leo, just trying to get his phone charged and stuff like that. So definitely a great role of levity, and especially if a lot of it was improv. I mean, insane props to him, because it was definitely very effective with just his dialogue as a whole too. But I mean, yeah, I do just want to double down on one battle supporting performances, and definitely take Tiana Taylor in this category. She definitely has my vote for the Oscar. And yeah, I mean, I think just her charisma on screen is undeniable. Her chemistry with Leo too, I think is pretty electric. Although I mean, he can have chemistry with probably anybody, but also she has a great name. Perfidia Beverly Hills is an iconic name. And yeah, I mean, even though she's only in it for kind of the prologue there, I think she's just unbelievable. Her scene with Sean Penn, I guess, it was a little bit weird, but she has multiple scenes with him, but still, along with that, like, that's just like an acting battle going on of two heavyweights. I feel like, of both of them just have such magnetism on screen as these characters, and bringing them together, they do some weird stuff, but she's just really great. I feel like with her too, this is the first time I've really seen her in like a dramatic role and kind of be like, wow, like, she's on a different level than a lot of other people. So just happy that she got a breakout like this, and hopefully it does propel her into a lot more, kind of leading dramatic roles, similar to this.
Just incredible energy from her in every frame that she's on screen. It's that thing of like, screen time is nothing, but the impact is huge, and you just feel her weight for the entire rest of the movie because of how powerful a performance and character is when she's gone. She is a whole, intentionally.
Yeah, but that is true too. I mean, that just shows like how impactful she is, because the rest of the movie is just like, her actions, the consequences of her actions, basically, even though she's not there. So she's always there, really, but just not on screen, which is kind of disappointing to me.
I am going to take Naomi Ackie next.
Nice.
Partially for Sorry Baby, but actually a nomination for Mickey 17.
Oh,
because I do think she is really good in this. A collective appreciation for her work in 2025. But to me, I think she was the highlight. I think Robert Pattinson is fun, kind of doing the dual role thing, but he's also doing his, I'm going to do a weird little voice and not take this super seriously, and I'm Steve-O, and whatever the hell he's doing. But she has a really great scene where she just gets to absolutely crash out on Mark Ruffalo's character. And just for that scene alone, I think she's deserving of a nomination. And fun chemistry with both Robert Pattinsons, and she's really just living the dream.
That was a really fun pick. Yeah, I do like her a lot too, in both of the movies from this year. Not a bigger fan as Mickey 17, but she is still really good in that. I feel like the most memorable thing from her in that even is like her intro to Rob Pat. Kind of, they have like that instant connection that you can really see on screen. So she is very underrated, and yeah, she's great in Sorry Baby as well, obviously too. But definitely a fun pick there. I wanted to shout out Rebecca Ferguson in this category for House of Dynamite, which again was not a movie that I particularly loved, but it had absolutely nothing to do with Rebecca Ferguson. I think
the first 45 minutes, which is her part, is the best part of the movie. And you think this is going to be a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, if the rest of the movie was just focused on her, I think it would be one of the best movies of the year, likely. I think like she does a really good job in a dramatic role like this, she has the family aspect, but also she's just like kind of the natural leader, it seems like, in this group. So kind of just, again, her magnetism and, just the shock and fear, especially with her, wanting to protect her family above all else. It's pure, just kind of motivations that anybody can relate to in this situation. But they decided to just, chop up the movie 3 times and replay it. So not really sure what that was about, but goddamn, dude, the first 45 minutes with her is absolutely awesome.
Would have definitely been a better movie. All the stuff in that situation room is great. I mean, she's just literally just staring at screens and talking to people in a room, and she's great. I'm gonna shout out a movie that you've been getting a lot of love to, and I'm gonna take Michael Cera in The Phoenician Scheme. I think his turn at, I don't even necessarily want to spoil it, but the halfway point, 3/4 point, when he goes from one character to another, that's just like lights out, incredible stuff. And I love the nerdy whatever Bjorn character guy that he's playing in the first half of the movie, but then when he becomes the secret agent, it's like Clark Kent Superman stuff. He just is a switch is flipped. Christopher Reeve pulls off the glasses and suddenly he's an entirely different person.
Absolutely. I think that character shift is one of the more fun scenes of the year too. And Sarah is absolutely awesome. So yeah, love to see him working with Wes. I really do hope that is a continued partnership, because I think just him, like you said, like throughout the movie, he has different roles of, being the more sensitive one and then turning out to be, the secret spy agent. So he can really do it all. And Wes really, I feel like, let him flex, more of his muscles with the accent work and other stuff like that too. So really, really exceptional stuff from him. And he was also great in The Running Man too, in a supporting role. So Sarah, definitely the king of kind of the side character this year, which is fun. Okay, for my second to last one, movie we talked about a little bit, from Weapons, which has a lot of good performances, but I got to take the Soup Kid. I got to take Carrie Christopher.
Nice.
I think got to include one child actor here. I knew if I included Hamlet or Hamnet, that there would be some people not happy. But this kid is awesome. The focus of the movie is definitely not on him early on, obviously, just with its story structure. But he is there throughout the movie, pretty much the entire time. It's almost like kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like you don't even kind of see it right in front of you of, oh man, like how did I not think of, obviously he's going to be kind of the big connecting piece to all of this. But once he does get his shine, I mean, I think the dramatic stuff with, him also just him and his movie dad have good chemistry. Like their one scene of just in the car and him calling him by his nickname and talking about, his day, and, he's bullied a little bit. So their relationship is good, I feel like. But once his parents kind of go silent and, it's just him and Aunt Gladys, like that's where the intensity really turns up. Obviously the face stabbing scene with the forks is tough, but just well acted from him. And then, him having to feed, his parents and feeding these kids, and kind of just like the looks of anguish and shock of, watching all of his classmates run by him as well. I feel like it's a really effective scene. So another great kid performance. But yeah, Carrie Christopher, hope he keeps doing stuff. But he took down the crazy lady. So I think it's a great start for him in his career.
I was gonna say he has a pretty badass hero turn at the end and really saves the day. So he's great. It is a lot of just like despair and anguish that you see on his face as he's like struggling to get these cans of soup open. And it's really heartbreaking stuff. And like you said, they set up the father-son relationship really well to when fucking Aunt Gladys is there. It's real heartbreaking stuff, and the kid plays it well.
100%.
All right. You're not gonna like this, but I'm gonna nominate an actress from the film Avatar: Fire and Ash, Kody.
Oh wow, okay. Shut up.
I'm gonna pick Una Chaplin, who plays Varang in the film. She's the big bad, the evil fire and ash lady. I'm not a huge fan of these Avatar movies, and I've never really loved any of the performances in them. But I think this is actually my favorite of the series, and I think what Una Chaplin brings to this character is actually very interesting. She is the granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin, and she is really doing kind of like this silent movie-esque performance where literally even the way she is walking is different than the way that any other character walks. She has this swagger. She is so emotive and physical in every movement she does. She's playing off Stephen Lang a ton. I almost considered giving him a nomination here as well because their scenes together are just so incredible. But I think she is a really powerful force to be brought into these Avatar movies, and I'm actually excited to see her character, maybe show up more. And I think she is like a really good actress, somebody who knows how to use this performance capture extremely effectively, better than people who've been acting in these movies for decades.
Yeah, that's really cool. I did not know about her relation to Charlie Chaplin as well, because I feel like that style obviously would work very well just with the mocap and everything. But yeah, out of the things that I've heard from Avatar, that is the biggest of kind of her relationship with Lang, being the most interesting part. So maybe I'll just check out her scenes on YouTube or something.
I'll be on Disney Plus soon.
Yeah, I'm shocked it's not on streaming yet, but I'm sure they'll re-release it 10 times beforehand for God knows what reasons. For the marathon, the Avatar marathon next month. I'm sure it's coming. But definitely fun pick. I think for my last pick, I mean, I don't think I can leave him out really. Maybe there's more deserving people, but I'm gonna have to pick my boy Willem Dafoe for The Legend of Ochi. I think supporting wise, he just really does a great job of, being the overly protective dad, but also at the same time being kind of, the teacher of this community, trying to, inspire some kids to, kind of follow their dreams and, just grow up, I guess, more than anything else. But, although he's doing that, like he's doing an accent, he's just hamming it up.
He's hamming it up. He's bathing in the river.
That's my favorite way to describe it. But his character too is interesting because it's kind of like he has a lot of misguided hatred, towards these creatures. So it makes, his relationship with his daughter, obviously a lot more interesting when, she has this interaction with the Ochi firsthand, and his reaction to that is not great immediately, but eventually he kind of comes around to, understand their relationship a bit more. And it's altogether just like a really wholesome performance from Willem, which again, I feel like is maybe not something we see a ton from the weirdo. So have to include him on the list somewhere. And yeah, really liked him in Legend of Ochi.
This is the big blind spot for me. I got to go watch The Legend of Ochi after this, I guess, and then I can come back and tell you how
you're probably not gonna like it.
How bad your choices were.
Hyping it up too much. Yeah.
For the final pick here, I'm going to take Billy Crudup and Jay Kelly. I really think it's just like one scene performance from him.
Great pick.
But it's one of those ones where it's an actor playing an actor and doing a performance in a film, similar to like what we see Elle Fanning do in Sentimental Value. But it's one of those moments where it's just like, damn, actors are amazing. Like he's just able to turn on a fucking character and an entire new persona. And he just does this little, kind of one scene for Clooney. And obviously the greater struggle between these two characters is that they were old friends, and Clooney's character, Jay Kelly, became a famous movie star, and Billy Crudup's just off, fucking working a dead end job, never got to, see the success that he would hope for. But he is the better actor. He's the guy who actually has the skills and the chops. And it is, that's Hollywood, man. Sometimes it's not the actual best actors that make it. And absolute heat check stuff.
Yeah, great pick. I honestly forgot about him, but he's unbelievable in the very short amount of screen time that he has. Like you said too, I think another interesting aspect of his character of like, he was the best actor in the class, and he was the one who got the audition, and Clooney was just there, along with him.
You brought him along as just to be his friend. Like, hey, yeah. I need some help, and
then he ends up being the iconic movie star. So obviously, a lot of kind of just like lifelong beef between the two of them. That just natural from that. But yeah, like you said, he's barely in it, but he's so memorable. He has a physical altercation, with Clooney. So it gets intense, but you also see like they did have a friendship in general. It was just kind of ruined by the circumstances, unfortunately.
All right, our best supporting performances were Miles Caton in Sinners, Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another, Tiana Taylor in One Battle After Another, Naomi Aki in Mickey 17, Rebecca Ferguson in House of Dynamite, Michael Cera in The Phoenician Scheme, Carrie Christopher in Weapons, Una Chaplin in Avatar Fire and Ash, Willem Dafoe in The Legend of Ochi, and Billy Crudup in Jay Kelly. Real quick, any honorable mentions? Amy Madigan, for me, I think, could have gotten in. Obviously, she got the Oscar. Rafe in 28 Years Later. Obviously, he gets a more shining moment in The Bone Temple, so maybe we'll give him a nom a year from now. Those were my two big misses.
Those are definitely good noms. I had Josh O'Connor as well. You might even categorize him, I guess, as a lead in our next category, but definitely great. In Wake Up Dead Man. And then my other three ones were Felicity Jones and Train Dreams. Again, kind of limited screen time, but just a very important performance for the movie, and her connection with Edgerton, I thought was phenomenal. And then Paul Mescal, along the same lines, supporting role in Hamnet, but just really, really effing good. I do love Paul Mescal. Give him a lot more roles, which he's going to be a Beatle, so he'll be around. And then my last one was Conan in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I think for Conan, not being a traditional actor, him thrust into a crazy role, and a fun role, a crazy script more so, but him trying to be this person of levity in this crazy movie is also funny and ironic just because of that. But he's actually good. He's got some chops, and he shows it off with Rose Byrne, who's a hell of an actress herself. But yeah, wanted to shout him out as well.
It made me think of, which I know I've said this to you like 6 times every time we've talked, Peyton Manning in Is This Thing On? Incredible stuff.
Yeah, is that an honorable mention for you, or
yeah? I got to throw that in. One more honorable mention.
Go. Shout out Peyton. Love that.
All right. Last but not least, best lead. My first pick for best lead is going to be Wagner Moira, of course, in The Secret Agent, playing dual roles. I guess you could almost say 3 roles, because it's 2 versions of the same character at different time periods, and then playing his son all the way grown up as well. There's a coolness and a calmness to him as an actor and as a performer, but underneath the surface, there's always something bubbling. I think there's one line in the film where he says, like, I'm not a violent person, but I would beat this guy to death with a hammer. And like that line right there, it's like, yes, he's a simple guy, but the things that he's passionate about and the people that he cares about, like, he will do anything to protect. He's always going to try and do the right thing. So I think it's a really admirable character. And Wagner Moira just, I feel like, always has so much in his head underneath the surface that he's thinking about, whether he's being accosted by the police at the beginning of the film, just the way he's looking at both of them, trying to figure out how to get out of it. There's so much there.
So much depth, like you said. And yeah, because it is deep down, he's definitely a good guy at heart. You see the love that he has for his wife and his family, but just kind of driven to this a lot darker place, due to these unfortunate circumstances. So great all around role for sure. I mean, he is the anchor of the movie, no doubt. So yeah, awesome performance. Probably the best of his career so far, and excited to see what he does next for sure. Gonna go back and definitely talk about sentimental value here a little bit more for a couple picks. But first one I wanted to shout out, Renate Reinsve. I mean, she is just absolutely phenomenal in sentimental value. I mean, she has so many faces and emotions that she kind of plays in this movie. She's the cool, fun aunt. She's obviously the actress. She's so invested in acting that she'd like rather act than be herself almost. She's dealing with severe anxiety. You definitely see that in the opening scene, kind of with the play and stuff. And also too, I mean, just the deeper emotion that, she has to deal with her dad, him kind of subtly, shit talking her profession and kind of as, what she's doing in her career, and having to deal with that. And then eventually finding the tipping point and, kind of confronts him, which doesn't really go too well. But another just, I think, scene that really accentuates Renate's performance is her conversation with Elle Fanning, kind of in that theater. I mean, it's a really dope shot, just them sitting there. The fact that Elle is kind of talking to her about how she can't get a grip on like the overwhelming sadness of this character. And like when she says that to Renate, like Renate kind of just like starts to break down. And you can kind of see that on screen. So just incredible emotional depth, I think, from her. Also too, another scene that shows that is like, after her last play, kind of, she has that face on of happiness and talking to a lot of other people. And then once, she finds herself alone, kind of, that drops down completely back to kind of her normal state of sadness. So just really great stuff. And then, like I was saying before, the overall arc of the ending of finally kind of seeing her happy and having joy in her life. Just a cool full circle performance from her. And yeah, definitely my favorite performance of the year. There's no doubt.
My next pick in this category is going to be Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon. In some ways, it is similar to, I think, Ethan Hawke's persona as this, very intellectual guy who's going to talk everybody's ear off and, have all these thoughts and opinions. And he's going to just sit at the bar and schmooze everyone and go off and feel, maybe very self-confident or a little too cocky. What he plays well is that in this character, underneath that veneer is this short little bald guy who doesn't fuck anybody and is like 6 months out from dying and has this like deep sadness from being left behind by the world and by the culture. So it's Ethan Hawke, on the surface doing something that you'd think would be easy, but there's so many more layers of just like depressive energy that's there that I don't feel like you ever get when you see him in interviews or him, talking to people. So I think that is just a really fun turn. And again, it's like, he literally looks short in the movie. There's like an energy that they're able to capture just by like, cutting a hole in the ground so he can, be like 3 inches shorter than everybody else.
Short king. I love it. And yeah, like you said, just a lot different from his other roles too, which I think, elevates it compared to those. So really fun from him. That'd be dope to see him in an Oscar. Not sure if it'll happen, but rooting for him regardless. Good pick. My second pick, I'm going to stay right where I was at in sentimental value. I'm going to pick Stellan Skarsgård. Sure. I mean, I guess it's supporting. I mean, I was looking.
I think it's the lead. It's
it
Oscar
definitely is
fraud.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at the screen time per actor for the supporting category, and I think Stellan was almost on an hour of screen time compared to most of the other nominees were. I think Benicio was like 20 minutes. That's kind of the common. That's same with Elle Fanning. Like she's in it like 15 minutes. She got nommed. So supporting whatever. It's a lead performance. But I do just really love. I think it's maybe a career-defining performance. That's saying a lot, I guess, but I think it's one of Stellan's best for sure. Going back to his relationship with Renat, I think that he does a good job of subtly showing like he does have deep guilt kind of about their relationship. Obviously his backstory, he went through a lot as a kid he was 7 years old and his mom committed suicide. Which obviously her backstory of kind of being brutally tortured, by Nazis and everything. So you understand her perspective, but as a kid, that's got to be one of the most difficult things you could ever even imagine going through. And then obviously kind of, his relationship with his daughters is definitely not the best, to say the least. But he does show that caring, nature of, I guess it's more of unconscious nature, but he always like calls her when he's hammered, Renat, and, he always worries about her. But it is just like a lot deeper than that too, of especially kind of coming back into his grandkids' life, and his relationship with Ignis is a lot better than it is with Renat. So you do get to see kind of this really layered performance of like I said before, like this 70-year-old director past his prime. It's honestly a banging character, and I don't think you could have anybody else honestly play this role and work as well as it does. Same with Renat. I mean, you put any of the two actors, I think, in a movie like this, and it just doesn't work. So I'm kind of just enamored by their performances, and give them both Oscars.
Yeah, I think, on the surface, it just seems like, oh, this is some asshole old director guy, but there is a lot more sadness underneath, which is really good. So for Stellan, in a long career of kind of fun genre performance or international cinema, it's cool to see him kind of get his love this time around. So
yeah, 100%.
I am gonna take Amanda Seyfried in The Testament of Anne Lee. Just as the leader of this religion, her going in and able to convince all these people to become a shaker and to kind of change their whole livelihood, to stop having sex, to to approach religion and God in a new and unique way. She's also doing a lot of singing and dancing and crying and undergoing the same heartbreak from losing children and the local people attacking them and causing problems. And again, Amanda Seyfried is probably not the first person I would expect to be in a role like this, and it does feel a little bit transformative for her to be something so serious and mature, but I think she's really good in it.
Really the full range of emotions, and she's also singing and dancing, so definitely a lot going into that role, which is cool to see for her, like you said. Beautiful. Okay, I think my next pick, yeah, I'll go Joel Edgerton in Train Dreams. I think this, for me, is one of the more underrated leading performances of the year. Mostly for the fact of, I mean, this movie is completely on his back. And obviously it's his character story. That's who we are following. But for me with Edgerton, I just haven't seen anything, with him like this, really, of a super serious, dramatic role. It's really just about him growing up, trying to find a purpose in life, finding that purpose, unfortunately losing that, and then trying to live with it, trying to move on. But he just gets to show off his emotional chops, which I don't know if I've seen a ton from him before. He kind of has just like this very stoic, quiet nature about him. But when he gets in these deeper conversations, with Carrie Condon and with William H. Macy a little bit, you just get to see more of his perspective, and kind of he is just a really, really good down to earth guy who's been, through a shit ton. So I thought that he was just super surprising and a great dramatic performance from a guy who I just really wasn't expecting.
He plays the logger. He's believable as a logger. This is a guy with some calloused hands.
He's got the logger look for sure. I'll give him that.
A really heartbreaking story of a guy who, just fucking loses his wife and kid and then, tries to live after that point.
Yeah. You can't catch a break, really. I feel for the guy.
All right. My next pick is going to be, I'm going to take Jennifer Lawrence and Die My Love. Everything I talked about, it's very animalistic, basic emotions, a lot of kind of like actory games. I think there was one thing I read where it's like they were making the movie and they were prepping for the scene and they show up on the day and the director's like, why don't we just do this without dialogue? Like, why is it just you guys chasing each other around and we'll get the emotion out of it? And I think Jennifer Lawrence in particular, like, fully commits to that and is playing in this world that Lynn Ramsey has set up, as the pure linchpin of all the emotion in the film, all the horror and the stress, and the joy and just like the mental health issues that she's undergoing, both because of her circumstances and just because it's life makes you crazy.
Factual, but yeah, love J-Law. Again, I loved her era that she's into, where she's allowing herself to go into these more dramatic roles that she could show off her range. She's definitely one of the best actresses working today, and yeah, love to see that she had a little bit of fun with this one, or a little bit crazy, I guess, a little bit of both. Okay, I think my next role, I keep picking performances from this movie, but I'm going to take Chase Infinity for One Battle After Another. It's just crazy to me too that like her first big role, or I guess her first real role in general, is just the lead in a PTA movie, and you're just you're starting with Leo. I feel like that in my mind is crazy, but with her it doesn't seem to be a big deal because I think she does a really great job, with this character and really carrying the bulk of the story throughout the movie. And her dynamic with Leo feels so natural. That scene where she's about to leave for the dance, even though he's being, of course, the overprotective dad. They still have that moment where she always says, "I love you, Bob," before leaving and stuff. So you feel that connection, but I mean, also too, she's got her mother in her. She's a fighter as well. Once she gets face to face with Crazy Man Sean Penn, and and the other Christmas adventurers, she gets some shit done. So I just thought, altogether she was great with the action scenes. Specifically, obviously the ending too, with the car scene and kind of the intensity of that altogether, with Leo showing up at the end too, and she's got some comedy thrown in as well. So it's kind of just like, damn, I don't know what this girl can't really do. So, and she's a indie native, I believe. So double shout out there. But yeah, she was absolutely phenomenal, and I think no doubt she's in the lead role of this movie.
The Midwest love is flowing. Big K-pop fan as well, Chase Infinity. So we love that for her. I think that scene that you're talking about at the end where her and Leo meet up and she's holding the gun at him and she's like, what's the password? What's the password?
Yeah.
Yes, is my favorite. And like I said, anytime you're just going head to head with, one of the greatest actors of all time in Leo. And then even, she's got a great scene with Sean Penn there at the end when they're doing the DNA test. She's really good in this.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, my final pick, movie we have not talked about at all, is going to be Tessa Thompson in Hedda, directed by Nia DaCosta. This is another one that I think could have made my underrated list. But it's all Tessa Thompson at the center of it, just going around causing drama. It's based on the Hedda Gabler play, the Ibsen play, but it's kind of got a very like modern drama and tea and like let's just cause havoc energy to it, where it's like Tessa Thompson's going around, she's gonna kiss anybody, she's gonna shoot anybody. We're gonna have a dinner party where everybody's fucking everybody and there's problems galore and it's kind of soap opera-y and tense, and you're just like, what the hell is going to happen when we get to the end of this movie, and how are all these relationships going to resolve? And it is just Tessa Thompson at the center of it, making beautiful faces, wearing glasses and wearing gloves and a beautiful dress, just being elegant as hell, but also being, pretty conniving and mischievous at the center of it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love Tessa Thompson. I didn't know this role would kind of have so many different aspects to it. So that's awesome. And I love Nia DaCosta. So I feel like that pairing would definitely be pretty great as well. But yeah, one I'll definitely have to add. That was pretty much off my radar, honestly. So I love that recommendation in general. But
dropped on Amazon. Yeah. Nobody fucking watched it.
Nice. Tessa Thompson's underrated, man. I wish she was in a lot more stuff, but I think Taika ruined her, and Men in Black International, unfortunately, as well. Yeah. But that feels like a Taika movie.
Creed, though.
It is. Yeah.
Kugler, if her and Kugler do another movie together,
yeah,
that'd be sick.
I'd love that. Great pick. Last pick of the episode here. Got to make it a good one. I think I'll just stay basic here and shout out my boy Michael B. Jordan one last time. Said it a million times, but
I'm glad you finished. This is where you should have finished. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great capper, I think, to our review as a whole. But like I was saying earlier too, I think like on a rewatch for me, the characters of Stack and Smoke, like they do feel a lot different. The one being the more level-headed businessman, kind of him being like, no, we need to take money. Like, this is a business. And then, obviously the other one being kind of more of the happy-go-lucky optimist. I do like his relationship more with kind of Miles Caton's character, and that specific scene where he kind of, tells him the guitar was, I don't remember who, but from somebody famous instead of his dad who, beat him and they ended up killing him because he was an asshole, basically. So I just really love kind of their different dynamics, especially with the two love interests as well. I think he has chemistry with both actresses, which is always tough. But also I think like the overall arcs, I think, work for both of them. And they do just feel like such different characters, which is very hard to achieve, I feel like. So I hope he wins the Oscar. We will see. But yeah, definitely wanted to include him on the list.
Yeah, I'm glad that we ended on him. I think it is pretty likely at this point that he'll win the Oscar. Obviously, we'll know in just a few short days, so maybe we'll sound like idiots if anybody's still listening at this point. But I think we got a really solid 10 here, and him leading the movie and playing both roles is worthy. Our 10 for best lead performance are Wagner Moira in The Secret Agent, Renat Rensve in Sentimental Value, Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value, Amanda Seyfried in The Testament of Anne Lee, Joel Edgerton in Train Dreams, Jennifer Lawrence in Die My Love,
Chase Infinity for One Battle After Another,
Tessa Thompson in Hedda, and Michael B. Jordan in Sinners. Well, Kody, that is our best of 2025. We never have to think about or talk about 2025 movies again. Just kidding. Next episode, we'll be doing some Oscar talk some more. But this was fun. Another long one, but well worth it.
Yeah. Let us know if you're still listening. I am interested to see. But really fun one. Always good. I had a lot of fun this week too, just kind of going back and rewatching a lot of my favorites that I want to talk about.
Filling in the gaps.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of fun. We'll be back next year.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you. Peace.
What you've just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.